Chen is a regressor who just returned from a dark future where demons conquered the entire world. As the very last human survivor, he fought for years before taking down the Demon King in a massive suicidal explosion. But after a sudden, blinding flash, he wakes up right inside his old college dorm. Confused, he literally wonders if he somehow crossed into the afterlife. But then he looks out the window, seeing crowds of regular people walking around. Slowly, the unbelievable truth starts to sink in. His ultimate wish has actually come true. He is back 10 years in his college days. And get this, a weird system screen pops up, fully integrating his gluttony power. Looking outside, he realizes he only has 3 short years before the first demon lord, Wrath, descends onto the world. He remembers clearly that this specific beast was responsible for the entire apocalypse. Wrath was the one who opened Hell's gates, letting the other demon lords invade their world one by one. So Chen decides he has to find where Wrath will spawn and assassinate him before those gates even crack open. Shaking off his thoughts, Chen focuses on the floating digital screen beside him. The glowing interface proudly displays his stats. It feels like a video game system, which he definitely never had in his previous life. Back then, he survived purely on natural awakened powers, a rare genetic lottery won by almost nobody. The National Awakener University was built to train these gifted students, but during his first time here, Chen completely failed to awaken. He became a campus punching bag, which is why he just woke up in the clinic. Suddenly, the system opens another card panel, displaying his previous Lightning Assassin class. He instantly recognizes it as his exact class from his past life, wondering if he somehow awakened much earlier this time. He eagerly prepares to test it out, but before he can change classes, his roommate Ma Long suddenly bursts in. Ma Long is a weak E-rank flower chanter, sporting a cheek bandage while checking if Chen is doing okay. Luckily, Ma Long is completely blind to the screens, meaning this broken system is Chen's exclusive secret. His friend stares in shock, noticing that Chen's nasty bruises are completely gone. He cannot comprehend how a regular human is healing faster than an actual awakened user. Chen remembers his dorky roommate well. Ma Long did manage to awaken magic during college, but he remained incredibly weak, getting brutally slaughtered just 3 days after Wrath's initial descent. Chen quietly smiles, simply happy to see his doomed old friend alive again. Ma Long then panics, reminding him that their big ranking test is literally tomorrow. The nerd feels bad, assuming Chen still has not awakened, but warns him this test is extremely critical for graduation. Walking down the crowded streets, Chen casually mentions how long it's been since he saw so many living people, totally creeping Ma Long out. But looking around, you know he cannot let them face that same bloody, horrific fate all over again. So, he makes up his mind to power level like an absolute beast. But there is a major catch. Right now, the only way for an awakener to grind experience is by hunting monsters inside dangerous demon lairs. These hunting zones are completely controlled by the major guilds. This leaves weak outsiders like him with almost zero chance to grow. Pulling up his stats, he carefully measures how he currently stacks up against other awakeners. The official association classifies everyone into ranks, stretching from E-class all the way up to S-class. Chen knows that most students here are stuck at E-rank, with barely anyone reaching D-rank. He glances at his worried roommate and chuckles quietly to himself. He is pretty confident his secret level is already way higher. Suddenly, a basketball flies in, smacking Ma Long right in the face and shattering his glasses. It is the arrogant bully Gong Chong and his annoying lackey, the very same jerks who trashed them just yesterday. Gong Chong smirks, demanding why they did not buy crates of sports drinks when they knew they were playing here. Terrified, Ma Long quickly apologizes, reaching into his pocket to pay for the drinks himself. But Chen grabs his arm and stops him, declaring that Gong Chong is the one who needs to apologize. Seeing that smug face triggers painful memories. In his past life, these bastards tried to drown him inside a dirty restroom sink. They claimed they were just trying to help him awaken. That day, they only stopped after Chen finally lost consciousness. Ma Long had rushed to help him, but the moment Gong Chong heard Chen mutter a word, he came back to torture him further. Shaking off those dark memories, Chen decides it is time to teach these pathetic punks a real lesson. Hearing the former loser talk back, Gong Chong and his thugs step forward, eager to shut him up forever. Chen looks right at Chung, knowing the guy only targets the weak because his older brother is the student council president. As the bully steps closer, classmates crowd around. They already feel sorry for Chen, fully expecting him to get thrashed again. When Chung gets close, he demands to know what Chen just said. Standing his ground, Chen calmly repeats that they must stop bothering him. Furious, Chung loses his cool and throws a heavy punch straight at his face. But this time, Chen just raises his arm and easily blocks the strike, even shoving the bully back. I mean, check this out. Nobody can believe a supposedly unawakened kid just blocked that attack like it was nothing. Growing even more furious, Chung charges back in. Chen calmly prepares himself and switches his active class to Electric Assassin. Roommate Long stands nearby, completely stunned. Meanwhile, Chung activates his indestructible demon armor and charges forward, swinging hard. But before he can even land it, Chen dashes in and blasts him away with a lightning-charged punch. Classmates cannot believe their eyes. The school's biggest weakling just sent their notorious bully flying with one single blow. Even after taking that massive hit, Chung refuses to yield. He screams at his lackeys to step in and get revenge. But his lackeys are already shaking in absolute terror after witnessing what Chen just did. Chung drags himself back up and lunges at Chen once more, but he just gets brutally beaten down and slammed away, completely helpless. Seeing their boss get absolutely crushed, the terrified lackeys realize they are totally outclassed and scramble away. Long, watching all this, is left completely speechless. Honestly, you can't blame him who would expect their weak roommate from yesterday to suddenly become an absolute beast. Meanwhile, Chen realizes that just like in his past life, he can easily trigger his assassin state whenever he wants. Even at level 1, his raw stats are high enough to handle low-tier awakeners, which easily puts him at D class. But there is still one major thing he needs to confirm. Defeating this guy didn't trigger any level up from the system. Intrigued, Chen steps forward to finish off the bully completely, making the crowd watch in absolute panic. Right before he strikes, the student council's vice president, Ling Yu, steps in and tells Chen to stop. She points out that even though Chung was at fault, this beating is already more than enough. She promises the bully won't dare bother him again, so Chen finally decides to let the matter go. As he backs off, Chen wonders why the student council is so eager to step in and protect a thug like Chung. Although Chen was only putting on an act and never truly planned to take his life, he knows bullies like Chung need to be taught a real lesson, or they will just keep targeting the weak. With that, Chen walks away with his roommate. Watching from a safe distance, the bully's surviving lackeys hide and whisper that they must never provoke Chen again. That night, Long tries to tell their roommates how Chen awakened as an insanely strong lightning assassin, but nobody takes him seriously. Long keeps explaining how their weak friend thrashed Chung so badly, but Xiang Zuo, an E-rank nucleus mage, treats it like a joke. Xiang Zuo asks why Chen is still out there running and training if he is suddenly such a big deal. He argues that a real awakener wouldn't need to waste time on basic physical training. Hearing this, their quiet gamer roommate, Xiang Yu, comments that it sounds like Long must have taken a major hit to the head. Xiang Zuo adds that the 4 of them are in this dorm because they are the absolute weakest, and nothing will change that. He even boasts that he is the strongest of their group, while Long and Xiang Yu are just supports. He flexes a bit, reassuring himself that there is no way Chen actually became a lightning assassin. Feeling more confident than ever, he hopes that he might even rank up during their final graduation test tomorrow. Over at an E-rank demon lair, the student council president Gong Ting finishes his training and walks out with Ling Yu. He notices his younger brother standing there and asks what's wrong. Chung whines that as long as the guy who beat him is around, he can't sleep. He keeps pleading with his older brother, begging him to get revenge. Gong Ting calmly promises to clean up his mess. Later, at the dining table, Vice President Ling Yu asks how Gong Ting plans to handle this. Gong Ting simply asks if this kid is actually as strong as his brother claims. Ling Yu reminds Gong Ting that there are under 10 D-rank students in school, and Gong Ting already recruited every single one. She adds that ordinary students don't even have access to demon lairs like he does, meaning no normal student should stand a chance. Outside, Chen keeps running like crazy in the pouring rain, getting completely drenched. He sets a goal to run 20 full kilometers while carrying a bag packed with 100 kilos. That is nearly double his own weight, but he knows solid basic training is crucial to raise an awakener's limit. You need a pretty strong body to handle high-level powers. While running, he remembers his sister, the only family he had left, who was killed when the Demon King Wrath descended upon the human world. The beast slaughtered countless people in an instant, and his sweet sister died right in front of his eyes. Ever since that horrific day, taking down this Demon King has been his goal. Chen knows that the terrifying Demon Lord is already growing stronger, even with 3 years before his arrival. Chen must grow fast, seriously fast, if he wants any real shot at survival. Right then, his sister soon calls him. Hearing her sweet voice after so long leaves him completely speechless for a brief second. She explains she was just too busy with a competition to call him sooner. Winning a prize might finally fix their rent, she adds. As Chen quietly listens with a warm smile, a strong vow forms inside him. He will protect her, giving her the life she deserves this time. Afterward, he returns to his training, completing 3 more university laps. Done with that, he heads straight for a shower. He feels like he is slowly getting used to this younger body and its insane growth potential. Resting, he thinks about those demon lairs that only rich folks can access. He knows he has to find some way to hunt down monsters to get stronger. Lost in thought, and here is where it gets weird. He drifts to sleep, only to get pulled straight into the Gluttony System, waking up in some bizarre, dark world. Outside, Long looks for Chen and wonders where he disappeared to. Inside the strange space, Chen sees a massive tower standing right in front of him. Before he can examine it, a pack of E-rank death hounds appears to greet him. Panicking that he somehow entered a demon lair, Chen quickly swaps his class. Since these monsters appeared out of nowhere, he decides to slaughter them first and figure the rest out later. He easily takes down the weak hounds since they are harmless, collecting their dropped items. Hitting level 2 makes him smile, thinking he got lucky by stumbling into this place. A boss monster appears next, but Chen defeats it just as easily. He cuts right through it, leveling up again. The experience points from the boss are way higher than what those normal monsters gave him. The boss body is marked as Devour, making Chen wonder what that means. Remembering the Gluttony skill from his status screen, he reaches out his hand to test it. The devouring finishes instantly, and the monster gets absorbed into a card. Chen is shocked to realize he can turn defeated monsters into usable classes. Chen quickly realizes this is the exact same ability the Demon Lord Lan Yu had. The realization that he wields the power of a Demon King leaves him utterly shaken. Normally, people only get one class, or maybe two. But Chen, he can actually hold as many classes as he wants. How did he get this insane power, and what is that dark tower in front of him? While he ponders this, a terrifying presence appears as a new demon emerges holding two S-rank blades. This beast is clearly S-rank, meaning Chen stands zero chance. Knowing he is outmatched, Chen summons a lightning sword to fight back and gamble for his life. Bizarrely, the monstrous demon standing right in front of him somehow knows his name. They clash weapons, but it becomes instantly clear that the demon is just playing with him. It purposely avoids his vitals, casually batting him away and slamming him into the dirt. After pushing Chen to his absolute limit, the fiend finally speaks. Surviving is pretty easy if he stays to guard this tower, but Chen refuses, earning a brutal slash to his arm. The demon threatens to end him. It only held back, it explains, because Chen is the sole human who has ever managed to reach this chamber. Reconsidering is not an option for Chen as he refuses to lose all hope. Screaming defiance, he completely ignores the danger. He lunges straight forward, determined to strike back, and attacks the towering demon once more. Throughout their clash, Chen has been studying the beast's movements, noticing a 0.4-second delay before every single strike. This tiny window lets him track the angle of the monster's wrist and perfectly dodge the strike. A 0.2-second recovery pause is all he needs to strike. By aiming right for its heart during that brief opening, he knows a D-rank hunter like him stands no chance of truly beating an S-rank. His goal is just to paralyze the demon long enough so he can escape. He does just that and bolts toward the only shining light, desperate for a way out. But right as he reaches it, the light vanishes. The demon just laughs. It was all a complete illusion. There is no exit here. This palace is not actually a demon lair at all, it explains, yet it still praises Chen for quickly spotting the flaws in its attacks. Revealing itself as the Purgatory Rakshasa, the creature tells Chen that he truly is the one destined to bring them hope. Wait for it, Chen takes one close look at the demon and completely freezes. He has seen this exact look before on the Demon Lord Lan Yu. Our hero remembers their brutal final battle before he went back in time. His opponent back then was no ordinary beast. During that desperate clash, the creature first transformed into a massive dragon. Then it kept morphing into other terrifying, high-level monsters, unleashing boiling magma, toxic vines, and lightning far more powerful than his own. But of all those forms, the one that really caught his attention looked identical to the demon standing right in front of him. Then, it hits him. Every transformation was part of Demon King Lan Yu's power, and since that power is now sealed inside him, this demon is just the raw power of gluttony absorbed into his own body. His clever deduction deeply impresses the creature. It calmly declares he is truly worthy of inheriting the power of this entire dimension. Chen frowns, totally confused by what that actually means. A golden void key manifests in the demon's hand, the single way to enter or leave the massive tower looming behind him. The beast explains that Demon King Lan Yu devoured countless mighty monsters. Its sacred duty was to guard the tower, trapping the strongest beasts. Now, it chooses to hand that key over to him. The Rakshasa wants him to devour those demons, grow stronger, and inherit this mission. Confused, Chen asks why a demon would ever help a human. But the monster replies that even deep within the demon world, there are good and bad factions. One cruel monster slaughtered its entire clan just for fun. Since that dark day, it has lived only to get revenge on that beast. Now, he believes he has found the exact person to grant that deep wish. Someone was definitely right about him being their absolute best hope. Chen immediately demands to know who that is. Speaking like a highly mysterious old sage, the demon replies that all those answers are waiting inside the tower. With its final words, it offers every last drop of its remaining energy to him. In exchange, the demon tells him that he must become the single strongest human on the planet. Devouring every wild beast hiding inside the tower will not be easy. Each of those highly intelligent creatures is going to be a massive challenge to beat. A final warning, only someone with an insatiable hunger to grow stronger deserves the Purgatory Rakshasa's power. That relentless drive is exactly what he needs to kill every demon king. With parting words, the demon's body condenses into a blazing ball of pure energy for Chen to absorb. Chen instantly levels up 8 times and obtains 2 of the Rakshasa's swords. Without a second thought, he accepts the mission, swearing to fulfill the fallen warrior's final wish. Alongside massive stat boosts, he unlocks the power to control gravity and absorb energy from fallen humans and demons alike. The next morning, he slowly opens his eyes, waking up inside his messy dorm room just like any other day. He suddenly bolts upright as a booming voice echoes straight through the room. His roommates are already getting ready, shouting at him to hurry up if he wants to make it to class. Noticing his body is totally fine, he wonders if that wild experience was just some crazy dream. But a quick look at his updated stats proves that is not the case. It was all completely real. After jumping all the way from level 2 to level 10 overnight, he wonders what rank he holds now. His roommate immediately starts teasing him, mentioning how someone was shamelessly hyping him up last night, talking about how insanely strong and cool he supposedly became. Malong quietly peeks over from across the room, acting like he had absolutely nothing to do with it. Either way, his roommate challenges him to prove his worth during the upcoming ranking test. That exam will decide who is strong enough to claim the title of Dorm King. On their walk to school, the self-proclaimed king proudly brags that every single rank is split into 3 different tiers. So, even though they are all currently E rank, he is at least a proud mid-tier, placing him way above the bottom losers. You just know this guy is begging to get humbled soon. Overly confident and totally fired up, the guy claims he feels so strong that he must have moved up a level since their last exam. Pretty annoyed, Malong tells Chen to stop messing around and actually go all out to secure a D rank today. That way, the loudmouth dorm king might finally shut up. The guys arrive at school, where everyone is nervously gathered for the ranking ceremony. The bullies walk in like they own the place, insulting anyone who dares look their way. Even the cocky dorm king's confident smile completely vanishes the exact second he sees them. The bullies freeze. They completely lose their nerve, bowing respectfully to Chen without any hesitation. Slowly, his roommates realize the truth. Maybe everything Malong said was not complete nonsense after all. Chen ignores them. He minds his own business, but another student steps right in front of him. It is Jian. This student council officer acts like school police, and he gives Chen a polite warning. The president personally sent him. His mission? Punish the guy who dared hit his precious little brother. Chen's friends immediately scatter and hide. They are absolutely terrified of Jian, the enforcer who handles the dirty work. His roommates are baffled. Why is this powerful D-rank monster targeting Chen like this? Jian gets right in Chen's face. The president's follower brags that his incredible sense of smell reveals how strong everyone is. And right now, all he smells from our hero is a weak, pathetic loser. Chen just smiles, firing back instantly. Jian completely loses it the moment he gets called a dog. But check this out, before a fight can actually break out, Jian's master orders him to stand down immediately. After doing some digging, the president realized his little brother was the one who actually started it. Getting beaten up? That was just the result of picking a fight way out of his league. The president shoots Chen a glare sharper than daggers, but our hero is not intimidated in the slightest. Right then, a professor announces that the rank assessment ceremony is officially starting now. He orders all students forward. Hearing this, the president tells his lapdog that they are leaving. He assumes this is over. Surely, Chen won't cause any more trouble after this warning. Watching from above, a man curiously asks the vice president why she is attending today. He wonders if a rookie caught her eye. Smiling, the lady promises a pretty interesting year. Soon, Shanghai's name is called. The dorm king feels incredibly nervous as he steps forward. The atmosphere completely shifts. The assessment happens one by one inside a creepy demon lair. Inside, a wired demon heart measures an awakener's rank and potential by absorbing their energy. Once they release their full power, the signal beams back to Earth, displaying their final results. The dorm king's rank? Exactly the same as his last assessment. However, the professor looks totally confused when the potential score takes way longer to show up. Malong stares intently at the shifting numbers. After all that agonizing suspense, Shanghai's maximum potential is only a C. He walks out looking totally devastated. He realizes progress was all in his head. His roommates try comforting him, saying they are in the same boat. After all, they are stuck at E- rank, with C rank potential at absolute best. Moments later, the president's loyal lapdog proudly walks out. He is still a lower D rank, but possesses A rank potential. Chen's roommates are losing hope. They have already seen nearly 10 other students reach D rank. Even the professors are totally shocked. Breaking past E- rank without real combat experience is incredibly rare for these students. Hyped up, they call the next name. It is the president, who carries everyone's expectations on his shoulders. All eyes turn to Gong Ting. This elite student is already a guild master. As Gong Ting walks onto the stage, Chen remains completely calm, waiting patiently. Everyone at the academy knows that Gong Ting was only a lower D rank 2 years ago. Since the school's historical record is only middle D rank, everyone wonders if the president will raise the bar. Inside the demon lair, the heart's eyes slowly open. Here is the crazy part: he cannot even unleash his full power. Still, he has a burning desire to go out with a massive bang at graduation, carving his name as number 1. The professors see his potential grade glowing gold. They blink in absolute disbelief. Their suspicions are quickly confirmed. Gong Ting's high D rank completely blows them away, and the crowd goes absolutely wild at the sight of the first potential S rank in history. The president's loyal lackeys start praising their boss non-stop. Even Chen's roommates burn with jealousy, watching a legend being born right before their eyes. The shocked professors quietly agree that this news must be sent to administration immediately. They must protect their precious S-rank candidate with absolute care, ensuring he never leaves the country. Plus, he is the academy's youngest student to ever be involved with a real guild. Their school's name is now guaranteed to dominate the headlines. Watching from above, Principal Yuan Long realizes Vice President Ling Yu already knew all about his massive potential. That is the exact reason she showed up to watch the ceremony in person. But things get wild when she reveals he is not her only target today. Forget the flashy president, there is another student she's actually keeping an eye on. Right on cue, that very same student gets called up onto the main stage. Jean suddenly gets a bright idea and starts mocking this mysterious urban legend, warning him not to end up as trashy E-rank garbage like his roommates. He mocks them, saying they will become a total laughingstock, and that showing up to such a prestigious event is an absolute disgrace. Long backs up his buddy, boldly bragging that he's going to blow everyone away. The crowd waits with bated breath as Chen steps inside the demon lair. Instantly, the demon heart senses an overwhelming pressure drawing near. Our main character knows the absolute best way to secure his future is by joining a top-tier guild. To make that goal happen, he absolutely must dominate the upcoming graduation combat assessment. During the test, candidates have to draft their own 10-man squad. Whichever squad snags first place gets recruited straight into the country's legendary Imperial Guild. That puts high stakes on this exam. Meanwhile, Jean starts building his team, introducing another low-tier D rank to his boss. He proudly brags that their squad is finally complete. He boasts that with all the D ranks and the president's brother on their side, taking first place is a guaranteed lock. Jean knows the heavy hitters will naturally team up, leaving the weakest bottom feeders with no choice but to group together. It is a brutal dog-eat-dog system where the weak are easily tossed aside and left behind. Time ticks by and Long starts sweating because the screen is frozen. The crowd immediately starts whispering that Chen must be too weak for the machine to even notice. Jian scoffs and tells Ting that these remaining students are just garbage, so they might as well leave. But look right, as they turn to leave, the screen suddenly blinks, flashing a high D-rank rating. Instantly, the crowd loses their minds as shock ripples through the room. Even the president and the student council stare in utter disbelief at this bizarre outcome. Behind the scenes, the machine picks up a weird anomaly. Chen is actually testing things out, using his baseline level 10 physical stats just to see how they register. Shrugging at that D-rank output, he swaps his active class to the Infernal Death King, which is his weakest devoured class. In a flash, his rank jumps to mid-C, completely stunning everyone. The student council refuses to believe the machine is even functioning correctly right now. Even the scientists are scratching their heads, wondering why the readings are jumping around. They start to think the testing device might be completely busted. Right on cue, the demon heart goes unstable, and those numbers begin to fluctuate wildly again. Seeing this, Chen decides to step things up and activates a much stronger class, the Purgatory Ruasa. The demon heart begins to panic as a massive storm starts brewing outside the lair. Jian yells in complete shock, viewing the storm as some divine sign that their humble dorm has just birthed an absolute monster. Suddenly, his rank flickers all the way up to S rank, leaving the scientists and President Ting paralyzed with shock. But then, a red warning flashes on screen. The candidate's raw potential has exceeded the system's maximum load limits. Honestly, Jean's brain completely short-circuits like a blue screen of death. His soul is practically ready to float right out of his body. As the machine starts overloading under the sheer pressure, panicked scientists sprint forward to save the student from any danger. But the second they get close, they freeze in terror. The demon heart has completely burned out from extreme overuse, leaving behind nothing but a shriveled little raisin. Looks like our boy Chen ended up terrifying the poor thing to death. Naturally, he devours the remains, unlocking the power to see anyone's rank and receive warnings about incoming danger. Stepping out of the chamber, he gets a pleasant surprise when everyone's hidden stats pop up right before his eyes. He instantly spots that the president is actually hiding his real rating, turning out to be a totally mediocre C rank. The scientists creep out looking incredibly awkward, announcing that the demon heart basically suffered a fatal heart attack from stress. Testing has to be paused. They write Chen's crazy score off as a glitch and announce that a detailed report is headed straight to the higher-ups. The rest of the class is told to come back tomorrow morning when a brand new testing machine will be fully set up. On their way home, Chen's roommates are hyping him up like an absolute legend after that mind-blowing stunt he just pulled. Meanwhile, Jian is standing in the corner, absolutely eating himself alive with jealousy. He calls Chen a total fraud, demanding compensation for breaking their testing machine and wasting the student council's time. What a sore loser. Just as Chen's about to totally obliterate him on the spot, Ting steps in and immediately calls Jian out. The president warns him not to disrespect their teammate, which leaves Jian completely stunned. Ting then extends his hand, formally inviting this newly revealed powerhouse to join their squad. He confidently promises that together, they'll smash every record and get the highest score in school history. Jian is already panicking in the back. He knows someone is going to get kicked off the roster to make room for Chen, which means major trouble with the brothers. He knows that joining Ting's team basically guarantees them first place. So he wonders what makes Chen so special, especially when others couldn't even bribe their way onto this elite team, no matter what they tried. Swallowing his pride, Jian slowly welcomes Chen, placing a hesitant hand on his shoulder. Chen immediately slaps his hand away, saying he has zero interest in joining. This brutal rejection has Jian breaking out in a cold sweat, while Ting just watches in dead silence. Jian snaps, telling Chen he has no idea what he's passing up since their team is easily the best in the entire academy. But Chen just turns around and walks away. Not his problem. He says their group is just way too loud to deal with. Do not bother him again. As Jian boils with absolute rage over the rejection, the entire academy starts gossiping about the drama. Most students assume he wants first place all to himself now with his C rank. And let's be real, the entire academy is just loving the massive drama unfolding right now. Chen's roommates absolutely love seeing the humiliated looks on Jian and Ting's faces after such a savage public rejection. The president keeps his cool, telling Jian not to worry if Chen has other plans, but seeing this, the watching principal sighs deeply in disappointment. He really hoped these talented students would team up and work together to break a brand new school record. But Ling calmly points out that things are actually way more interesting this way. She explains that Ting grew up incredibly rich and spoiled, so he'll definitely take this rejection as a straight-up declaration of war. She reminds the principal that their president is not a guy you want to cross once his pride gets bruised. Jian keeps whining, claiming Chen just has a massive ego because a glitch labeled him a C rank. But Ting quietly hints the result might actually be real. He admits that even if it's unlikely, he can't let anyone steal his first-place spot. Meanwhile, Jian remembers that Chen is probably just a regular student with zero real combat experience. On the flip side, the student council members are true elites who secretly trained inside a deadly demon lair to get this strong. He suggests teaching Chen a lesson for being so disrespectful. Ting cuts him off, asking if he really thinks his president is that petty. Jian instantly realizes his mistake and apologizes. Ting then cancels their karaoke plans, telling Jian to handle the whole situation by himself. He coldly adds that whatever Jian chooses to do has absolutely nothing to do with him, and Jian gets that dangerous, hidden green light right away. Soon after, a spy walks up to Jian, reporting that Chen has already left the academy grounds to head home for a bit. He mentions that Chen left without even stopping to grab a bite, making things incredibly convenient, and Jian sees this as absolutely perfect luck. And here's where it gets dangerous. He's thrilled to crush Chen outside, where no one can help him. As Chen crosses the street, he recalls a major disaster from his past life, where a top guild tried to clear a demon lair in St. He. Inside that lair, they encountered a terrifying new monster named Wrath, who wiped out the entire elite team without them even putting up a fight. The monster then escaped into the human world, causing massive, devastating damage everywhere. Even though his memories of it are still pretty blurry, Chen is absolutely determined to track down that same demon lair in this lifetime. To get his plan off the ground, Chen needs a lot of cash, so he heads straight to the Myethil Monster Exchange Center. He remembers that in the future, this very exchange center is going to become the absolute biggest trading hub in the entire country. In this world, an Awakener's true strength depends entirely on the quality of their weapons and gear, making this exchange center the ultimate trading spot. But Chen just views this place as a quick way to grab some fast cash first. He walks in and tosses a few monster fangs onto the counter, which the broker examines closely with a look of clear suspicion. The broker asks how a mere student got his hands on these. Chen calmly replies they just dropped from a monster he beat earlier. The stunned broker claims he's never seen fangs like these, but his assistant steps in, explaining they actually come from an E-class monster known as a Shangan beast. She mentions that these fangs can be used to craft an E-grade weapon or ground down into powder for various other uses. That arrogant broker immediately cuts her off, slamming the fang back down. He sneers that some trashy E-grade item is pretty much worthless, bragging their high-end shop is strictly for VIPs. They only cater to high-status Awakeners and sell elite D-grade gear, using that as his excuse for ignoring Chen's low-tier item. Empty pockets. Mentally, the guy complains about not landing any wealthy customers lately. Seeing no point in helping some broke academy student who won't help him get promoted, he calls Chen a total nuisance, dumps the transaction on his assistant, Lee, and walks off. Lee politely hands him a thick cash envelope, asking if he needs anything else. Peeking inside, Chen counts 18 grand, which is easily more than enough to cover his monthly rent without breaking a sweat. But then, he pulls out that glowing greatsword from the purgatory Rashasa. Look at how fast her eyes lock onto it. Although she has honestly never seen anything like this sheer power in her life, she nervously guesses it is at least a B grade or even an A rank weapon. $1 million. The broker scoffs, laughing that actual A-grade weapons easily cost that much cash. Boasting about his long career of working there, he claims he has never actually seen an A-grade weapon in person. Right then, the owner steps inside. The owner calmly explains this blade is neither A-grade nor B-grade, causing the broker to immediately praise his boss. He smugly agrees that some random academy student could never carry anything that elite, but the owner explains this blade was forged in the Purgatory lands. An S-grade weapon. Both the snobbish broker and the assistant instantly freeze in absolute disbelief after hearing this. Instantly, the owner shakes Chen's hand, welcoming him as an honored VIP guest. Ushering Chen straight into their private lounge, he tells him to request absolutely anything, leaving our hero feeling pretty smug. Everything goes exactly as Chen planned now that the powerful guild boss Qing Ji has shown up, casually asking him how much he wants for the weapon. $1 million. Chen demands the cash, completely shocking the green-haired boss. The boss tells him this rare blade could easily sell for tens of millions, but Chen calmly explains that he only wants to use this legendary great sword as collateral for a short-term, $1 million loan for exactly 30 days. This bizarre counter-offer leaves the boss totally baffled, making him realize Chen is remarkably clever and forcing him to wonder about his true identity. Chen calmly adds that he will fully repay the principal within 30 days, followed by the interest payment a month later. Before making his decision, the guild leader dismisses his assistant so they can talk privately, noting that he already knows Chen is an upcoming graduate over at the prestigious National Awakener University. He also knows their brutal final exam takes place in 30 days, with the grand prize being exactly $1 million. Are you sure? The boss asks Chen point-blank if he is certain he can take first place. The boss figures out that Chen is in desperate need of cash, realizing this crazy move is his very last resort. He offers to lend Chen $1.5 million right now with zero interest. Extending his hand, he grins warmly and tells Chen that this is the beginning of a highly profitable partnership. Chen is genuinely stunned by the incredibly generous terms, but the guild boss reassures him that everything discussed in this room stays completely secret. He simply asks that in return, Chen trades any future loot with his guild. Chen realizes this guy saw through his entire plan instantly, yet chose to play fair instead of trying to rip him off. Now it makes total sense why this clever executive becomes such a legendary powerhouse in the future. Chen firmly shakes his hand, knowing he needs mighty allies to eventually crush the Demon Lord. Within minutes, the magical contract is official, and the entire sum is transferred straight into his bank account. The boss then asks if he needs to borrow a temporary weapon for the test, since his best sword is now locked up. Even though they do not carry spare S-rank weapons, they still have plenty of incredibly high-quality elite A-rank gear ready for him to take. But Chen tells him not to sweat it. And check this out, he casually summons his other massive sword, leaving everyone utterly speechless. Having finished his business, Chen departs. Immediately after, the boss promotes the pink-haired assistant to reward her for securing such an incredibly wealthy, high-tier client. Realizing he forgot to purchase a crucial item, Chen turns right back toward the front counter, and a few hours later, we see him waiting at a bus stop. He bitterly recalls his brutal past life, where climbing to the absolute peak meant enduring endless humiliation and being treated like literal garbage. Back then, he worked exhausting, grueling, double shifts just to survive, forcing him and his sister to live like they were almost completely homeless every single month. His sister, Yuan, actually got accepted into her absolute dream university back then, but she turned it down, claiming the commute was simply too far. In reality, she was merely terrified of placing an even heavier financial burden on her struggling brother. Where is she? Returning to the present, he starts searching the busy crowd. Suddenly, a playful voice calls him an idiot for looking by the entrance instead of the exit, and there is Yuan, wheeling her massive suitcase. Yun complains that they are flat broke again because the rent swallowed up all their cash, but Chen just stands there completely frozen, staring because it has been 7 years since he last saw her. Unaware of his shock, she snaps at him to grab her bags. With no answer, she waves her hand right in front of his face to wake him up. That is when Chen suddenly lunges forward and wraps her in a tight, desperate hug. A few awkward seconds pass. She jabs him in the ribs to break free, complaining that he is literally suffocating her. She teases that he has been acting pretty strange lately, asking if his secret crush finally rejected him, but he just laughs it off. As they start walking, Yoon goes right back to chatting about her upcoming school exams. Still, Chen is happy. Just hearing her voice is enough, quietly swearing that he will never let anything harm her in this lifetime. Meanwhile, down a dark, sketchy alley, a group of thugs is waiting. Once they confirm Chen is heading this way, their leader, Jian, orders his crew to stay hidden until the target arrives so they can jump him. He grins like a lunatic, swearing that Chen is going to pay for what he did. One thug asks if they will get in trouble if things go too far. The Cloud Assassin replies that he only wanted to rough him up at first, but their last meeting really set him off. Remembering how Chen embarrassed him, Jian tells his goons to save some of the beating for him, promising to teach the kid a painful lesson. Jian brags about being the absolute best Cloud Assassin around, practically drooling as he pictures the pure despair on his target's face. Back with our siblings, Yoon points out that he is still acting pretty weird, asking if exam stress is finally getting to his head. She giggles, teasing that a weakling like him shouldn't overthink things. Then she reminds him of his own words, just keep moving forward and let fate handle the rest. To cheer him up, she bursts into song as they enter the alley. Chen is secretly touched that she read his mood so easily, even though she still has no clue about his newly awakened powers or massive wealth. When he confidently insists that he is totally fine, she rolls her eyes, wondering if it is just his stubborn pride. Yun shakes her head with a smile, thinking that her little brother is finally growing into a real man. Lurking nearby, one of the thugs whispers to Jian that Chen is walking with a girl. This gets Jian incredibly excited, since this blind spot has 0 cameras, but Chen immediately senses their hostile aura, quickly realizing these are the same exact trash from the student council. Pulling out his wireless earbuds, he gently places them right into his sister's ears. He tells her to check out a new track he has been loving lately. It catches her off guard because he never listens to music, but she goes along with it anyway. That is when Chen spins around, staring absolute daggers at the approaching thugs. Now watch this. The music starts playing in Yun's ears just as the thugs rush forward. Chen immediately activates his lightning class. He can only think about how he lost his sister for 7 long years, and he just got her back. He is furious. How dare these fools even think about touching them? Blasting forward like a bolt of lightning, his first kick sends a thug crashing, making the rest break a cold sweat. Chen channels his power, dropping 3 of them with rapid-fire punches, before finishing the 4th with a brutal knee to the gut. Another idiot tries to swing, but Chen casually catches his hand, snapping his wrist like a dry twig without even trying. The guy shrieks in agony, only to get a heavy punch directly to his nose. Watching his crew get absolutely demolished, Jian freezes in sheer horror, wondering how Chen got this insanely strong. But Chen is not done yet, throwing rapid punches left and right as he plows straight toward the Cloud Assassin. As Chen corners him, Jian desperately tries to hype himself up, muttering that he is a top assassin and cannot possibly lose. Chen quickly drags him back to reality with a brutal punch that sends him airborne, following up with a rapid combo that knocks several of Jian's teeth loose. The terrified assassin rolls violently across the pavement before slamming hard into a brick wall. He looks up to find Chen staring down at him like a demon. Standing over the broken Jian, Chen reminds the trash that he was warned to stay away, staring deep into his soul to ask if he is literally too stupid to understand basic human speech. Traumatized and completely broken, the arrogant assassin can't even feel his legs anymore. With half his bones shattered, realizing he picked a fight with a literal monster, he barely manages to choke out a pathetic apology. Chen instantly cuts him off, grabbing him by the collar to press a cold dagger against his cheek. Looking up, the top assassin finally sees the truth. There is absolutely 0 hesitation to kill. This is not the presence of a normal high school kid. Jane can't help but wonder what kind of nightmare could turn a human being into a monster like Chen. The guy is just dripping with cold malice. Chen tells the broken boy to remember his words very carefully if he wants to avoid living through this nightmare again. He won't hesitate to tear them apart if they ever try something stupid again. Firing off his final warning, he adds one last terrifying condition. If they ever get within a mile of Uni, he will gladly hunt down and erase everyone they love, one by one. His message delivered. He drops the dagger, casually walking back to Uni's side before the background music even finishes playing. Meanwhile, Uni is completely overwhelmed by emotion, crying her eyes out over the painfully sad, lonely lyrics of the song. Heartbroken and totally confused, she weeps over how much her brother changed over the years. She even wonders if her own support back then just wasn't enough. Wiping her tears, she turns around, ready to give him a proper scolding. But she completely freezes mid-sentence the second she spots the gift in his hand. Wait for it, that shiny gold-plated pen she always wanted is sitting right there. Uni flushes bright red with pure excitement. She can barely believe her big brother actually bought her the latest holographic magic pen. This thing costs way more than their whole monthly rent. Her adorable reaction immediately melts Chen's heart. Her face says it all, she definitely doesn't want to return it, even if that's the smart move since they are super behind on rent. Clenching his fist behind his back, Chen quietly swears to protect Yuni's smile and make absolutely sure she gets into her dream school. Back at home, Yuni happily spends hours tracing glowing holographic drawings in the air. Watching her play, Chen quietly eats a bowl of her homemade ramen, genuinely glad that she loves the gift so much. Still, reality quickly kicks back in, and she starts worrying about him spending all this cash when next month's rent is still due. In response, Chen just flashes a proud grin and reveals that their rent for the whole year is already paid in full. He casually brags about some profitable business venture he's got going with a friend, but Yuni is sharp and shoots him a highly suspicious glare. She is definitely not buying this super convenient business story. That being said, she decides to drop it and not push any further. Honestly, she can't even remember the last time she saw her big brother laughing so freely. Gently patting his shoulder, she makes a simple request: whatever secret hustle he's working on, he just needs to make sure he doesn't burn himself out. Meanwhile, inside a quiet aquarium, Student Council President Ting shares some pretty shocking news with his cousin. The city's top doctors have officially declared that their best assassin is critically injured and beyond recovery. More than half the bones in his body are completely shattered. Fighting Chen was already wild, but the horrifying state of his body after the clash is just staggering. She reacts with cold indifference. Her only real disappointment is that the count of elite graduate students joining his team has gone down. But the president is just as cold, brushing it off by saying he'll perform better without some useless NPC weighing him down. Just then, their uncle, who happens to be the Academy's Director of Employment, speaks up. Director Gong Xuan calmly delivers his official report regarding our hero's latest moves. His detailed investigation into the ranking ceremony chaos is done, and honestly, the results are going to blow your mind. Chen actually ranks higher than the student council president himself, catching the former top student completely off guard. The director then offers some pretty stern advice. He reveals Ting's father personally requested an alliance vice chairman to evaluate his upcoming combat exam performance. Because of this, Ting has to shine brighter than anyone. But just in case he fails to take the spotlight, the director proposes a backup plan. The green-haired girl, who is also his uncle's favorite niece, will join his team to secure first place overall. However, the arrogant student council president flatly rejects the offer without a second thought. He haughtily claims that he didn't even use a tiny fraction of his true strength during the initial assessment. Supremely confident in his own power, President Ting assures them he will dominate the entire academy all by himself. Back at the academy dorms, Chen washes off after finishing a grueling daily 100-meter run with a heavy backpack. He is completely locked in on one single goal: winning the $1 million prize in the upcoming graduation exam. This prize is his only shot at fulfilling his deal with the Mythil Guild's Chingy and building a lucrative trade partnership. With only a few weeks left before the big exam, he lies down in bed, not to sleep, but to keep grinding away even in his dreams, transporting his mind straight into his demonic lair. The massive void tower of Demon King Lu looms before him. He does not hesitate for a second, marching right up the giant staircase toward the looming entrance. Earlier, his first test using the Gravehound King class hit a solid mid-C rank, but the sheer, world-shaking power of his Abyssal Fiend class completely broke the Academy assessment machine. Even the Demon Heart itself simply could not measure his true limits. So, the next step is pretty obvious. He has to open the Void Tower and unleash the raw, destructive fury of his other classes directly in real combat. Stepping inside, Chen is pretty eager to see what kind of brutal, insane test this place throws at him. But wait until you see what is actually waiting inside. His eyes go wide in total disbelief. He is instantly pulled into a bizarre space realm, standing on a massive white planet. The second his foot touches the ground, he drops to one knee, barely keeping himself from collapsing. Here in the fallen star wastes, the gravity is 10 times stronger than Earth, crushing him down to his very bones. Behind his back, the entrance completely disappears. He instantly realizes he has to clear the boss to escape this place. He has to adapt to this crushing force before anything strikes, but a phantom lion prowling nearby is not giving him that chance. Locked in a corner, Chen immediately swaps over to his lightning class. The beast pounces, but he barely slips past and stabs its shoulder. It roars in pure rage, though his blade misses its vitals and does almost no real damage. He quickly catches on that his strikes are just as slow and clumsy as his heavy movements. The phantom lion easily slams him to the dirt, lunging right in to tear a chunk out of him. These beasts are perfectly adapted to this brutal gravity. Letting the monster clamp onto his arm for a second, he quickly swaps to his Abyssal Fiend class. The swap instantly triggers a completely different set of upgraded stats. Giving up some of his speed, he gets a massive boost to strength and defense, perfect for close-quarters brawling. This transformation slams the aggressive predator down, turning the tide of the clash instantly. Rakshasa's gravity manipulation is incredibly useful here. On a world with 10 times gravity, a 3 times multiplier hits like an absolute meteor. The beast roars out in pain, but Chen shows zero mercy, slamming it straight into the dirt. Afterward, He drops to the floor to catch his breath, when Gluttony pops up with his sweet level up alert. He soon figures out that every class has a star rating, showing exactly how much his stats jump whenever he switches forms. Right now, Purgatory Rakshasa has the absolute most stars out of all his classes. Yet even with that edge, he barely survived a desperate struggle against a single B-rank Phantom Lion. Clearly, he has a long road ahead to unlock his peak SSS rank potential. Even worse, he is quite annoyed to find that Gluttony will not let him consume the dead beast. This beast was definitely not the floor boss either. The exit did not show up after its death. Suddenly, a massive gate swings open, and dozens of glowing eyes stare from the dark. Talk about a reality check. That brutal fight with one lion is absolutely nothing compared to what is coming next. A massive wave of B-rank beasts storms out, lunging at him with claws from every single side. Only now does he truly grasp the dark warning Rakshasa gave him earlier. The demon warned him that this tower is packed with savage beasts, promising a path of endless pain and suffering. But he must endure all of it to truly adapt and break his limits. Chen suddenly snaps awake in bed, breathing hard like he just barely survived the most terrifying nightmare ever. The other students are still sound asleep, completely oblivious to the fact that he was just brutally ripped apart by monsters. He finally sees that the Purgatory Void Tower is definitely no easy shortcut to getting fast power. This is just the brutal start of his long climb. A few weeks fly by, and the Academy graduation exam is finally here. Scores of elite VIPs have gathered to watch this highly anticipated batch of students. They announce new rules for team formation, forcing every squad to recruit at least one low-tier E-rank student. As team building begins, it turns out everyone can see each other's ranks on the big board, making it easy to handpick the best recruits. The names display from the highest rank all the way down, but Malong suddenly spots something pretty bizarre. Chen is left completely speechless when he spots his own name sitting right at the absolute bottom of the rankings. Every single head turns his way, wondering how a high-grade awakener could end up in the dead last spot. Jealous students start talking trash right away, pretty convinced that his high rank was just some error on the test. Still, even they cannot deny his power is genuine, and adding him to their squad would easily boost their final scores. President Ting stays completely silent while the crowd whispers about the idiot who is probably regretting rejecting his invite. It turns out his very own uncle, Gongguan, is the mastermind behind this setup. The uncle knew nobody would invite Chen to any squad after seeing him down at the bottom. The plan was simple. If Chen cannot even qualify for the test, he gets zero chance of beating the president. A few hours earlier, the entire classroom practically begged President Ting to let them join. They tried their best to flatter him, but Chung quickly shut them down, saying they only had room for one more person. By now, all the other students have already teamed up, leaving the school's weakest dorm completely in the dust. Long says they tried asking everyone, but literally nobody wants to join them. Since their group only has 4 members right now, they are banned from taking the graduation test. He complains that it is incredibly suspicious how Chen's score plummeted to rock bottom, basically disqualifying him from the start. Because the rules require at least one high-ranked member, it feels like they were targeted. This test is the only way for students to showcase their talents and get recruited by the top guilds in the country. But here's the catch. The group size determines exactly how many beasts you have to fight, meaning a larger squad is actually a disadvantage. That is why nobody wants these weaklings, since they are just dead weight. And it gets worse. The 3 worst-ranked students share the same dorm room, leaving them utterly stranded. Suddenly, a guy calls out to Zuo, saying their group only needs one more member. He tries to play Zuo, arguing that he surely does not want to fail the graduation exam just to stay with his useless roommates. Chen realizes that if this keeps up, they will all be left behind, completely missing their shot at the big tournament. But the dorm king instantly shuts him down, declaring he will never turn his back on his roommates. The recruiters walk off pissed, but Zuo warns them not to look down on his guys. Glancing at the roster, Long notes that almost everyone has a squad. They are just one player short, but nobody will agree to join up with them. Chen locks eyes with the director, suddenly realizing the old guy shares a last name with the arrogant student council president. Spotting the blatant sabotage, Chen wonders if Gongguan is actually that terrified of his potential. Refusing to yield, he vows to fight in this tournament, instantly unleashing his crackling lightning magic. Since these fools are flexing their hate so openly, he does not need to hold back his raw strength. He steps forward, releasing his massive energy, which leaves the proctors completely stunned by his raw force. Even his roommates are left wondering what he is doing. Chen remembers that all Awakener academies have a specific rule to encourage raw competition. Anyone can challenge anyone, anytime. While it seems like cheap showboating, it is the fastest way to get noticed. Normally, under this kind of pressure, most people would simply decline the fight, but you can bet the proud president is not backing down. Once he crushes the blonde president, everyone will beg to join his squad. Suddenly, a girl appears at the doorway, asking Chen if they still have a spot open for her. She mentions that she is also looking to compete in this year's graduation exam. The vice president whispers that she already hit D rank back in middle school, so she definitely won't disappoint him. His roommates absolutely lose their minds, wondering how on earth he scored such a gorgeous girl for their team. Chung and Ting both stand there utterly bewildered, while the school director nearly chokes on his drink. The crowd starts whispering, wondering why some elite exchange student would ever join the absolute worst team in the class. Nobody knows her deal, but rumors say she hails from the legendary Saint Kingdom. Furious, the director snaps that exchange students are strictly forbidden from participating in their graduation trials. He points out that Ling has never actually taken any ranking tests at this academy, making her tier unverified. This violates all guidelines. Suddenly, the principal appears out of thin air, agreeing with the director. Gong is utterly speechless, seeing the old man. The principal asks why Ling even wants to take the exam when she's only staying at the school temporarily. Chen is completely floored, wondering how a warrior-class cultivator could possibly teleport like that. This elder explains that it simply wouldn't be fair to the other students if she casually joined their little test. Chen breaks out in a cold sweat, realizing he cannot even perceive the power levels of these two masters. The director finally finds his voice, nodding along and stating that an academy cannot function without strict regulations. But the principal quickly changes his tune, explaining that their ultimate mission is to nurture young awakeners so they can go out and achieve truly great things. Sure, the graduation test is a school tradition, but it is also easily the most critical moment in any student's life. He demands to know how the school plans to make up for it if a sudden rule change keeps a student from participating. Sweat pours down the director's face as he panics, wondering if his cover has finally been blown. He even starts to wonder if the principal is pulling all these strings just for Chen. Realizing this fight is not worth the trouble, the director quickly decides to back down. He tells himself that since the powerhouse students already grouped up, they will easily sweep the test anyway. The director bows and apologizes to the principal, admitting they completely overlooked how this system could block some students from getting a real chance to grow. Then he announces that to keep things fair, even low-ranked groups and teams with under 5 members can join in. The 4 dormmates finally lock in their team, celebrating the fact that they can actually enter the test. Watching from the back, the principal casually mentions to Ling that she seems a little too interested in Chen. On one side of the battlefield, the student council president leads a squad of absolute powerhouses. Across from him, Chen heads a group of the 3 weakest underdogs. It makes the old man pretty curious to see which cave they pick and what their final score will be. The announcer officially declares that all team captains can now select their designated devil cave. Suddenly, his tablet dings, catching him completely off guard because one captain already made their choice. Instantly, everyone gasps when they see the cave Chen actually locked in. His dormmates completely panic and beg him to undo it, asking if he even realizes what he just did. But Chen stays dead silent, eyes glued to the screen. Quick rule check for us. Teams earn points in the graduation test by slaying monsters inside these caves. Slaying monster bosses and clearing the zone quickly will award separate bonus points. Then, the dungeon's overall difficulty level determines the multiplier for their total score. An F-rank cave pays out up to 75 points, while an E-rank caps at 100. The highest scoring squad gets scouted by the legendary Imperial Guild, and the star player wins a reward of 1 million WA inside the selection room. Whispers spread that the record high score in history was 90 points, set by the current leader of the Imperial Guild. Even clearing an E rank requires at least 3 solid D rank fighters on a team, but this year, Ting's crew might actually smash that record. The main screen dings, alerting everyone that a devil cave has already been locked in. A student gasps to see Chen chose a D rank dungeon, since nobody has ever cleared one before, making everyone wonder if he completely lost it. Long asks if he dropped on his head, while the dorm king completely loses his mind at the screen. The nerd tries talking sense into him, but Chen explains he thought long and hard about this choice. Another ding echoes through the system as the student council president selects the exact same D-rank cave. Ting's teammates quickly accept their leader's bold choice, officially qualifying their group for the exam. You can bet the room goes absolutely wild at this, though Ting's crew tries to act cool, while a blonde goth girl roasts Chen for seeking attention. A bald student snickers that Chen's weak teammates will never agree to this, so the whole squad will just fall apart. Long closely studies his friend's expression and realizes Chen is actually dead serious. He wonders when Chen became so incredibly bold, but making up his mind, the nerd hits the confirm button to trust his friend. Yo also slams the green button, feeling like he has pretty much nothing to lose. The dorm king gets annoyed the others picked before him, so he presses the button too, officially qualifying their team for the exam. Looking at his roommates, Chen apologizes, explaining he picked this deadly zone specifically to claim the top score. He knows he is dragging them all into his dream, but he promises they are going to reach the very top together. Hearing those words, the president stands right up, declaring that the #1 spot belongs to him and him alone. Chen turns to face him head-on as Ting releases a heavy aura, declaring there can only be one strongest student in this school. Watching from behind, Ling is shocked since this is the first time she has ever seen Ting get this emotional. The rivalry is officially out in the open, leaving the principal feeling pretty proud of how fearless his students are. But Ling is pretty uneasy about Chen picking a D-rank cave, which even a C-rank fighter could never clear solo. Sure, a student can earn 150 points there, but the difficulty is too insane, and his teammates are not cut out for it. The principal adds that with only a month left, it is basically impossible for them to grow enough in time. Still, he holds out hope. 2 weeks later, at the training area, everyone lies completely exhausted on the floor. Long questions why they are wasting time with heavy physical exercises while everyone else gets fancy simulation pods. Chen drags them through brutal, muscle-tearing workouts, and the guys are getting pretty frustrated about it. But Chen explains that simulation tech is actually completely useless. The first time you step inside a real devil cave, your mind goes totally blank and only raw instinct keeps you alive. This hard physical conditioning is the only way to build speed and sharpen real split-second reactions. Getting actual dungeon experience is the best teacher, but that is a luxury normal students only dream about. Only privileged elites get those golden tickets. On top of that, those elites gatekeep the system to make sure regular people never close the gap. They hoard resources that regular folks would have to struggle for an entire lifetime to find. The dorm king sighs, what are normal people even supposed to do against that? Chen lays down his ultimate goal. If they can somehow claw their way into the Imperial Guild, they can rewrite the rules. This graduation exam is their only shot to leapfrog the elites. Fueled by this dream, Chen promises to give everything he has to pull them through to a guaranteed victory. With only 15 days left, you know he is not slacking. Our boy grinds inside the Void Tower every single night. Taking down those lethal phantom lions is absolute hell, but he refuses to quit even after getting beaten bloody. Just 5 days before the exam, his buddies are giving it everything they have, but Chen, he is on an entirely different level. His insane training routine makes their hardest work look like a light morning stretch. With only 2 days on the clock, his rival is putting in serious work too, but Chen is evolving way faster. Now he is holding his own against a whole pack of lions under heavy gravity. Blood dripping down his face, he looks completely unstoppable. When exam day finally arrives, a guiding drone hovers over the crowd as our guys strut in wearing matching gear, looking incredibly sharp. The moment they lock their official wristbands on, the deadly test is officially underway. Outside the testing zone, the academy principal eagerly greets the powerful Gong Lin. This intimidating figure is President Ting's father, who literally co-founded the massive Imperial Guild. The awestruck students stare at this powerhouse like he is some legendary beast in a zoo. But their jaws hit the floor when the big bosses gather to greet a gorgeous, high-end white limousine pulling up. A striking red-haired man named Carl Candish calmly steps out from the back seat. The crowd goes wild because everyone instantly recognizes him as the powerful vice chairman of the World Guild Alliance. A VIP of his status would never normally show up here. High up in the viewing box, the director notes that 23 teams are taking on F-rank demon layers. A handful of squads chose E-rank zones, and only 2 exceptionally brave groups picked D-rank trials. The Alliance Secretary, Secret, looks pretty shocked that any student would make such a suicidal gamble. Normally, even a seasoned D-rank team has to plan carefully before braving a D-rank dungeon. She questions if the school even cares about student safety. Hearing this, the director calmly assures her that these kids knew exactly what kind of danger they signed up for. He warns that newly awakened rookies with 0 actual combat experience tend to struggle heavily against basic F-rank beasts. But the real threat is always the layer boss, which is light years ahead of the standard monsters. Most teams fail right at the finish line because they cannot handle the boss, but inside E-rank layers, things change entirely. There, even the lowest rank-and-file grunts are just as strong as an F-rank boss. It is a brutal lesson that rookies usually learn the hard way. The secretary then presses him, asking what safety nets exist if things get too bloody. The director smiles. The academy takes excellent care of its promising young talents. To prevent any tragedies, a seasoned Imperial Guild warrior is stationed outside each gate, ready to breach the moment things go south. And besides that, their special wristbands can instantly teleport them out the second they surrender or if their vitals drop. Hearing all this, Secret is still pretty skeptical that any academy kid has the raw talent to clear a D-rank zone. She silently wonders how many minutes those reckless teams will actually survive. The director just chuckles, expecting the overconfident kids to come running out crying pretty soon. Take a look at this frozen D-rank hell. Chen's teammates are already trembling with sheer terror. Honestly, anyone would freak out seeing these hideous creatures. They look like some twisted cross between bats and wild monkeys. Chen quickly warns the boys that these beasts dive bomb their prey in the blink of an eye, so keep your guard up. Right on cue, a swarm of ghost monkey bats swoops down. Remarkably, the boys manage to clumsily dodge the lightning-fast strikes, but while they are busy celebrating avoiding a D-rank blow, but then, something even wilder catches their attention. Chen is standing there calmly, lightning sword in hand, with a pile of dead monsters at his feet. He tells his team to focus on saving themselves first, since they aren't strong enough yet, leaving the rest of the fight to him. Suddenly, another ghost monkey bat lunges at them with terrifying speed, but they barely manage to dodge in time. Shangzu suddenly realizes Chen was actually pushing them to train their reflexes and speed so they could survive beasts like this. Zhu grits his teeth. You have to feel for the guy. The self-proclaimed dorm king now has no choice but to rely on his random roommate. Meanwhile, Chen completely wipes out the remaining ghost monkeys. They dive at him in waves, but he slices them down before they even realize what hit them. Zhu mutters to himself that he always heard about Chen's incredible strength from Ma Long, but this is the first time he is seeing it in person. To him, Chen doesn't look like a normal student at all, but a battle-hardened soldier. As the clash continues, Zhu feels a slight pinch of jealousy creeping in over Chen's rising reputation. Out of nowhere, another monster appears right behind the group, and Zhu barely manages to block its brutal strike. He grabs the creature's leg with his flaming hands and yells at his teammates to stop acting like dead weight and get it together. After all, Chen isn't the only one whose graduation is on the line. The others just stare, totally shocked by his sudden determination. Inspired by Zhu's stubborn will, Shangzu casts his Vine Lock spell, but to his absolute shock, the creature breaks free almost instantly, kicking Shangzu in the process. Ma Long casts his Frostbite Breeze spell, which only slows the beast down slightly, so they decide to combine their attacks. Working together, they manage to hold the creature down briefly and shout for Zhu to take the shot. Zhu charges up an explosive flame bullet and lands a direct hit, but the attack barely does any damage, only leaving behind a few burnt hairs. He fires several more flame bullets at the monster, but nothing seems to put it down. Shangzu and Ma Long are already pushed to their absolute limits. Zhu decides he cannot afford to hold back anymore. He gathers all his strength and unleashes a massive flame attack straight at the monster, triggering a huge explosion. When the thick smoke clears, only a charred skeleton remains. The drone announces they successfully killed a D-class ghost monkey bat. The three of them collapse onto the ground, completely drained. They are absolutely thrilled that they actually managed to defeat a D-class monster all on their own. Chen walks over, slightly surprised, and they immediately ask him if he saw them take it down. The monster leaves behind a single finger bone as loot, and Shangzu tries to act tough, casually claiming it was a piece of cake. Chen congratulates them anyway. Soon after, the drone announces that all the monsters inside the Devil's Cave have been cleared. Honestly, you should see the director's face. Director Gong nearly loses his mind, shocked that these weak, inexperienced kids defeated a D-level threat. The rest of the staff just stay completely silent. At the same time, Vice Chairman Candish's assistant calmly praises Chen for his outstanding performance. He secretly thinks Chen's aura strongly resembles an old friend. The vice chairman mentions Chen's name, promising to remember him, which instantly worries Gong Ting's father and Director Gong. To keep the focus away from Chen, Director Gong quickly points everyone's attention toward the student council team inside the other D-rank cave. He points out the team has already reached the middle section. The chairman's aide praises their teamwork, comparing them to a professional guild raid team. Chairman Carl smiles at this, noting that this year's graduates are truly impressive compared to past classes. Director Gong whispers to himself that the real battle is just starting, and the best part has yet to be seen. Inside the D-rank Toxic Vine Cavern, Gong Ting's party is attacked by poisonous mushroom monsters popping up from all directions. A girl plays her guitar to cast a decay spell, while a star mage groups the mushrooms together using his attraction ability for a combo attack. He calls out to the captain, and Gong Ting charges in with his sword, ready to finish the monsters off in style. With a single fast strike, Gong Ting unleashes his Blazing Sky sword skill, blowing the mushroom monsters apart perfectly. His teammates notice that the monsters in this school assessment are exactly the same as the ones they fought during training. Because they know what to expect, the team easily handles the fight without feeling any pressure. They already guessed that the school officials set up the test ahead of time for them. Having the right support makes life much easier. Thinking this, they start celebrating early. They are totally confident that they will win first place this year without a real challenge. Down on the deepest floor of the Cloud Forest, the boys are pretty shocked they even survived long enough to reach the boss. Right there in a frozen wasteland, a massive ghost ape calmly sits eating its meal. Just looking at the beast has Shanggu, the dorm king, sweating bullets over its insane power. One blow from that beast would absolutely end him, and right here is where things get tense. It locks its gaze onto the weakest guy. Malong screams in pure terror, and that single loud sound is enough to trigger the monster. The giant ape launches forward in a terrifying leap, sending the boys running as fast as they can to save their lives. Chen just charges ahead. Zero hesitation. He leaps high and drives a brutal kick right into the beast's massive face, following up with lightning-fast punches that send it flying. With one final, savage move, he completely rips the monster to shreds. Watching this absolute slaughter leaves his teammates utterly speechless. But Chen is actually pretty annoyed since these D-rank monsters barely give him any experience. To make matters worse, the loot drops are totally garbage. Suddenly, he hears his teammates yelling in pure excitement over finding some massive mana stones. It looks like the giant ape was hoarding those glowing crystals inside a hollowed-out tree trunk. Hyped by the sudden jackpot, his friends immediately reach in to grab the loot. Chen screams for them to hold back, but he is a second too late as a blinding light erupts from the wood. Within mere moments, the entire clearing is flash frozen under solid ice. Shangu, the dorm king, and the floating camera drones are completely frozen solid by the cold blast. Back in the VIP room, the stream abruptly goes dark. That shady director lets out a smug grin, looking like he planned this all along. He was well aware high-ranked beasts set traps, and he knew it was only a matter of time before Chen's rookie squad walked straight into their doom. Vice Chairman Candish scowls. He is visibly worried about the kids. The director fakes some sympathy for Chen's failure and argues they must evacuate the students immediately, but the principal instantly shuts down that idea. He notes the kids are not in real danger yet, since their emergency bracelets will automatically deploy if their vitals drop and nobody is called for help. To him, only the students themselves get to decide when to tap out. Back down in the frozen cave, Malong shivers uncontrollably. Surprisingly, he is the only squad member who avoided getting frozen, thanks to his special class having an incredibly high natural resistance to frost spells. Then, Malong hears a chilling laugh and spots a horrifying skeletal ice demon glaring down at him with zero mercy. Malong instantly recognizes this beast as the Dungeon Lord from his studies of the Monster Guide book. This boss is a high-tier cloud mage that can effortlessly control both offense and defense by reshaping the frozen snow. Even worse, this monster, known as the Bone King of Remains, loves torturing its victims slowly before finally ending them. Realizing the treasure was just a deadly trap, he spins around and bolts without looking back. Malong knows he stands absolutely zero chance against a C-class Lord Boss alone. He dashes over to shatter Chen's icy prison, but a sharp spike of frost impales his leg before he can get close. The Bone King cackles at his pain as Malong's safety bracelet blares a critical warning about his mangled leg. His bracelet practically begs him to forfeit, but you know our boy isn't about to quit now. He drags himself forward. He has to save Chen before their last hope dies. Suddenly, another icy spear pierces straight through his arm, shutting down his frantic struggle to save his friend. The Bone King absolutely loves watching Malong writhe in agony, while his rescue band flashes another extreme danger alert. Analyzing his pierced arm and critical heart rate, the system asks him yet again if he wants to save himself and give up. But instead of tapping out, Malong remembers his old life. He spent his entire life running away whenever things got tough, always ending up left behind. He can still feel the sting of everyone ignoring, mocking, and looking down on him. They claw their way through way too much hell together to throw it all away right now. Seeing this as his last shot to change his destiny, he marshals every ounce of strength to stand up and break Chen out. He stands tall, shielding his friend, just as the Bone King fires a lethal storm of sharp icicles at him. Just before the shards strike, Malong lets out a primal roar, and Chen's eyes snap wide open. The frozen prison completely explodes, and Chen blitzes forward to sweep Malong out of harm's way in the blink of an eye. This insane speed completely catches the Bone King off guard. Looking up, Malong realizes Chen shattered that high-tier ice spell purely through his own strength. Chen warmly thanks Malong for risking his life to free him, immediately checking on his severe wounds with deep concern. Malong gasps out that the bleeding stopped, so he'll live, warning Chen that the beast is a C-rank lord known as the Bone King. He warns him that combat is extremely dangerous. He adds that staying unfrozen is their only shot at surviving. Suddenly, they look back and see the Bone King charging a massive cluster of deadly ice shards. Malong is completely stunned, realizing the beast is about to drop a massive ice nuke right on them. The bomb crashes down, blanketing everything in blinding white. The monster starts laughing, but instantly stops upon seeing both boys standing completely unharmed after that devastating blast. Chen quickly switches his class to Doomflame King and triggers his Cloud Warrior skill, Frost Body, making him immune to all cold damage. This transformation boosts his frost resistances, instantly turning the frozen battlefield into his playground. The Bone King unleashes a horrified shriek. Even Malong is totally confused, watching his friend, who was supposed to be a vault assassin, suddenly become a cloud-type warrior. He wonders if Chen is a rare prodigy capable of awakening two classes at once. Chen calmly apologizes for miscalculating things, admitting he dragged his teammates into this high-stake battle because of his own blunder. Then, he switches classes yet again, transforming into an abyssal fiend. Pulling his Purgatory Warrior blade, he faces the Bone King, ready to end this battle once and for all. His best friend's jaw completely drops in shock. Usually, Awakeners get just one class to specialize in, but in incredibly rare cases, someone might actually hold two whole classes at once. These ultra-rare dual-class users are so scarce you could literally count them on one hand. This turns them into absolute treasures that every top guild wants to recruit, but even that is not what breaks his friend's brain. Look closely at this. Chen isn't using just one, but three completely different classes. Even wilder, every single one of those classes is god tier, and in his abyssal fiend form, his stats start shooting up like crazy. His overwhelming power launches him off the ground like a missile, charging forward with insane explosive momentum straight toward the boss. The monster's cocky grin instantly vanishes the absolute second it registers Chen's terrifying aura. With one clean, effortless slash, he carves through the massive skeletal beast like warm butter. This instantly boosts his level to 17 and secures him a rare item drop. Gazing at the shattered bones littering the floor, Malung is still frozen in absolute disbelief that his buddy just one-shot a C-rank boss. Chen casually reminds him their team is still frozen solid. Malung instantly panics as it hits him that he completely ignored his actual teammates during the whole boss encounter. He runs off to thaw them out before they freeze to death, and the moment he's gone, Chen sees a prompt to devour the defeated Frostlich King. With zero witnesses around, he swiftly absorbs the fallen boss, successfully unlocking the legendary Cloud Mage class. Since the boss's massive blizzard completely blinded all the monitoring drones and cameras, absolutely nobody on the outside will discover his hidden power. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a surprise system notification pops up. His Lightning Assassin class leveled up too, granting him a free star point to boost any stat he wants. Over at the D-rank Gloomveen Grotto, the President's team is getting absolutely destroyed. Regardless of their fierce attacks, this D-rank monster is proving way too tough for these amateur awakeners. The mage struggling to hold the beast down with chains is already on the verge of collapsing. To make matters worse, the lightning archer's arrows are basically doing zero damage. This towering monster easily tosses them around like cheap plastic toys. This embarrassing beatdown makes them wonder if all their academy training was totally pointless. They have never fought anything even close to this terrifying strength, and the struggling mage realizes the council president is their sole hope of surviving. Standing safely in the backline, the smug president strikes an extremely dramatic pose. He slowly charges his ultimate skill while getting massive power buffs from his support mages. Once he channels enough energy, he launches himself at the boss with his flaming sword, piercing the blade deep into the monster's core. The flaming blade erupts, melting the monster from the inside out. His teammates immediately burst into wild cheers, celebrating the rise of an absolute legend destined for greatness. A monitoring drone announces they cleared the D-grade zone in just over 30 minutes, making the fired-up party certain they clinched first place. They are absolutely sure no other group could possibly beat their record. Exiting the dungeon with massive smiles, they expect to see their names proudly shining at the very top. Walking through the exit, they pass tons of traumatized students who gave up and fled early, many still looking completely haunted by the brutal monsters they faced. The president's lackey spots Chen and his squad sitting calmly off to the side. Just looking at that exhausted group tells the story. They failed. The second they stepped inside, that smug lackey struts over. He mocks Chen for failing halfway through. The noisy lackey keeps rambling, but his boss shuts him up because the Alliance vice chairman is coming. That elegant man claps slowly, congratulating the students on a pretty impressive performance. As he approaches, Gong Ting keeps his composure while his followers literally shake with excitement to stand before one of the world's absolute strongest men. Gong Ting confidently reaches out for a handshake, but Carl Cavendish completely ignores him and walks straight past without a single glance. Totally humiliated, Gong Ting feels his pride completely shatter. To make it worse, the vice chairman loudly calls his rival a total legend, grabbing Chen's shoulder and announcing he cleared that D-rank dungeon in just 20 minutes. Even the professional teams from his own top guild have never touched a record like that. Look at their faces. Gong Ting and his lackey are completely speechless. They cannot comprehend how four nobodies beat their 10-man squad's time to clear a D-rank lair, while Chen does not even blink. Getting praise from the nation's strongest figure? It literally means absolutely nothing to him. Still, he wonders why such a big shot came here personally, but Carl Cavendish calmly says he will remember Chen's name. Turning to Gong Lin, the man who invited him, the vice chairman casually remarks that his son is somewhat talented too. A pretty weak compliment, but it leaves a very bitter taste for both father and son. His piece said, the vice chairman calmly announces it is time to leave. The academy director quickly steps in to smooth over the tension, announcing that both top teams have actually tied in score. Thanks to this tie, everyone gets an official invite to join the prestigious Imperial Guild. That news is pure music to Chen's roommates, who are basically set for life after being hard carried by him. Gong Ting's lackeys celebrate, but Gong Ting himself is pretty miserable with this tied result. The director adds that both captains will get management roles for their leadership, while the $1 million cash prize is split evenly. Hearing this, both leaders are shocked. Chen secretly worries $500,000 won't clear his massive debt. He absolutely must find another way to grab the rest of the cash to keep his word to the Mythil Exchange Guild. But that worry might just vanish. Gongting openly refuses to accept any tie. He boldly demands a one-on-one duel to decide the true winner since there can only be one champion. This sudden challenge instantly grabs the attention of both the director and the vice chairman. Panicked by his nephew's incredibly reckless move, the director desperately tries to convince him to accept the tie. The older man explains a tie is easily the best outcome after that brutal public embarrassment. The director assumes Chen will reject it. He is wrong. Chen accepts on one condition: the winner takes the full $1 million. Talk about a crazy plot twist. This is interesting enough to make the vice chairman stop and stay. With the deal locked, Chen steps forward, ready to face him directly and settle things once and for all. Later on, Qingji tells Chen he fully expected him to win, but a perfect score was totally beyond his expectations. Spotting Chen plastered all over the news, Qingji feels like backing him was a pretty genius move. He offers to erase Chen's $1.5 million debt, calling it a wise angel investment in his future. Refusing handouts, Chen firmly states a debt must be paid in full. He is here to discuss two things catching Qingji's interest immediately. First, Chen requests a simple one-week extension on his final deadline. Because the test ended in a tie, his prize money fell short by $500,000. He reveals his plan to grab the rest of the cash, a brutal tiebreaker duel against the other champion, Gongting. The match will go down next week inside a dangerous wild cave outside school, leaving Qingji totally shocked by the reckless idea. Questioning why students would ever go into a wild dungeon, he warns Chen it is way too dangerous without proper professional training. Totally unfazed, Chen tells him not to worry, promising to win the remaining $500,000. To make up for the delay, Chen promises to hand over every single monster material he gathers inside his interest. Seeing Chen's total lack of fear and calm focus on his debt, Qingji literally sweats in disbelief. Realizing the young man is genuinely special, Chen casually adds that there is a second, far more important reason for his visit. Wearing a completely serious face, Chen bluntly drops his final piece of news, leaving Qingji utterly stunned, his jaw dropping open in disbelief. Completely speechless, Qin Jingru slowly stands up and stares at Chen in stunned silence. Later that afternoon at school, Chan's younger sister, Yun, celebrates finishing her final exams while everyone else complains about the brutal test. Summer vacation is officially here. She happily checks her phone to confirm. Then it hits her: today is her older brother's big day, his final graduation exam. Look at this photo. Her lock screen shows a happy selfie of the two siblings. 4 years ago, a thrilled Chan burst into the room with his university acceptance letter, absolutely ecstatic about his rare elemental potential. A younger Yun asked if he would become an awakener like their parents. Brimming with hope, Chan promised to join a top guild, earn big, and give her a better life. He truly believed it. Gaining power was his only way to find their missing parents. Yun cheered him on, confident in his future, but in a more painful, recent memory, a quiet Chan sat slumped at his desk. He deeply worried because he was already a senior, yet his dormant powers remained completely unawakened. Watching her worry, Chan quickly forced a bright smile to mask his inner grief, telling her everything was totally fine as long as he just kept pushing harder. Thinking back, Yun remembers him failing to awaken, despite always working harder than anyone else. She realizes his immense loneliness, hiding his deep pain just to protect her while others succeeded. Her classmate, Wang, runs over, eagerly asking if Yun heard the massive news. Wang reveals their brother's university produced 2 genius graduates this term. She explains that both prodigies scored perfect marks and received personal praise from the Guild Alliance vice chairman, putting their hometown on the map. Remembering that Yun's older brother goes there, Wang eagerly asks how he did. Before a saddened Yun can answer, a flashy, pink-haired student suddenly cuts in with a smug, flirty greeting. The school idol, Jin Duxuan, smugly brags about booking a private VIP room and asks if she is free to join him tonight. While Wang gasps in absolute shock, a highly annoyed Yun just glares at the arrogant guy. Saying absolutely nothing, Yun spins around and sprints down the crowded hallway as fast as her legs can carry her. A confused Wang calls after her while Jin Duxuan watches her flee. Running home, Yun desperately pictures her brother crying alone in failure while others celebrate. She has to comfort him. She immediately decides to cook a massive feast to cheer him up. Later at their apartment, Yun carefully prepares an incredibly delicious feast, complete with a hot pot and endless side dishes. Chan is completely blown away by the massive spread, asking how she managed to cook everything so fast. As Chan digs in happily, Yun watches him with deep concern while the TV starts broadcasting a special report on the university graduation test. The young hunter continues enjoying his food while the TV details the vice chairman's high-profile visit. He's just faking it. She assumes he's wearing a mask to hide his painful failure. The screen reports a rare dual champion event where 2 elite students scored absolute perfect marks. With wide eyes, Siyun watches the screen as the news reporter announces that Vice Chairman Carl praised one of the perfect scoring team leaders named Si-chan. Hearing her brother's name, she stares at the screen in absolute disbelief. Can you blame her? Her supposedly failing brother is actually the ultimate genius with a perfect score. Meanwhile, inside a dimly lit room, a bloodstained whip lies on the floor as a cold, sinister voice declares the stage is set. The speaker is Gong Lin, standing menacingly over his beaten son, Gong Ting. Gripping the bloody whip, Gong Lin rages that he invited an elite audience specifically to witness his victory, scolding him for ruining the grand performance he meticulously planned. Bleeding and breathing heavily, Gong Ting can only listen as his father furiously reminds him that he embarrassingly tied with a complete nobody. Gong Lin declares his son will no longer make any decisions, revealing he has already pulled strings to rig the upcoming tiebreaker match. His beaten son hangs his head in defeat, as the father coldly promises to handle the situation himself. He will win this, no matter what dirty tricks it takes. The #1 spot belongs solely to the elite Gong bloodline. Back at the apartment, a trembling Siyun turns to her brother, asking if the Si-chan on TV is actually him. Si-chan calmly continues eating his food and quietly confirms that it is. Shocked by this, Siyun drops her spoon, which clatters to the floor as lightning flashes outside, mirroring her shock. She stares at him in sheer disbelief, slowly processing that her brother achieved the impossible during his graduation exam. It is absolutely insane that he not only led his team to a perfect score, but also received personal praise from the vice chairman of the massive guild alliance as a stunned silence falls over the room. Overwhelmed by her feelings, Seyun bows her head and wipes her tears, thinking about her goofy brother. Crying tears of pride, she smiles at Si-chen, knowing he finally made it. Meanwhile, on the night of June 17th, in 2157, Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish is relaxing in a private room, eating some premium beef. While eating, he asks his companion for a quick update on her current assignment. Sitting across from him is Ling Yu, who hands over a dark folder labeled Top Secret about the Devourer. She warns Carl that the target left absolutely no traces this past year, meaning their spying might get exposed. Completely unconcerned, Carl praises her hard work and tells her to start eating first. Ling Yu hesitates, offering one final detail. She noticed a highly suspicious person who recently reached out to Carl, and that instantly grabs his full attention. She explains that the crazy speed of this guy's sudden power growth is completely abnormal. Inside the Devil Tower, a shirtless Si-chen is crackling with raw golden electricity. And get this, he spent over 2 weeks grinding this first floor, clearing out nearly every monster. He has completely adapted to the floor's 10 times gravity, and his system screen shows his level 17 Lightning Assassin stats are heavily boosted. Since that graduation showdown, his Lightning Assassin reached 100% proficiency, granting him a free attribute point. It basically confirms that actively using a class boosts its overall proficiency. Ringed by the glowing avatars of his 4 distinct classes, Si-chen realizes none of them have hit their limits yet. Dumping that point into speed, the ultimate stat for any killer, his multiplier launches his speed to 740, matching an A-rank assassin. But even with this terrifying speed boost, he is stuck in a tense standoff against glowing purple phantom lionesses. His biggest headache is the boss of this floor, a massive phantom lion king he just cannot seem to hit. As 2 beasts lunge at him, Si-chen activates his powerful Divine Flash skill, morphing into Golden Lightning to clash head-on. That is when he spots the boss's weird trick. Every single time he goes for a strike, the beast vanishes. He closely analyzes their attack patterns. They shift positions lightning fast, keeping 2 actively attacking up front, while another pair stands ready on standby. Plus, the Lion King keeps its distance. Si-chen narrows his eyes in annoyance, seeing the boss refuses to trade blows directly. Staring at the massive beast, Si-chen wonders what kind of slippery combat class this boss actually has. When a phantom lioness charges, Si-chen counters, shoving a heavy bolt of crackling lightning straight down its throat. But right before he delivers the killing strike, the beast vanishes in a burst of pink light, leaving him totally annoyed. He quickly realizes this annoying teleportation power is not just for the boss. His targets vanish the second he tries to end them, warping through portals to safety right beside the massive king. Their game plan is pretty obvious. The second he pauses to breathe, another beast leaps in to draw his fire. Hellbent on breaking their coordination, Si-chen channels his golden lightning and unleashes a rapid flurry of savage slashes, but the beasts keep teleporting away before his blades connect. They hold their formation tight, warping back to the boss whenever they are in danger, leaving him constantly blocking their glowing claws. Every strike from Si-chen ends the same way, with the targets vanishing to avoid taking damage. They cleanly rotate attackers through their portals, making sure a fresh beast is always on the offensive. Si-chen keeps attacking the lunging beasts, but they keep vanishing at the exact millisecond of impact. This endless loop of tag team strikes drags Si-chen into an incredibly exhausting battle of attrition. Sweating heavily, Si-chen glares at the Lion King, realizing the boss is deliberately dragging this out to toy with him. Vaulting up to dodge a claw, he wonders why he is stubbornly trying to beat teleporters using speed alone. Switching strategies, Chen pulls up his screen and triggers a class change, instantly wrapping himself in freezing blue energy. Now check this out, as frost coats his body like armor, he figures there is no need to fight up close if the boss refuses to. The transformation turns his hair white and makes his eyes glow bright blue. He decides to play as a mages to completely shut down their slippery tricks. The system flashes, confirming his switch to level 17 Frostbone Skeleton King. Standing tall under a crown of frost, Chen prepares to launch massive area of effect spells to seize control of the battlefield. Now acting as his level 17 Cloud Mage, the Frostbone Skeleton King, Chen hovers high over the battlefield and triggers a massive, wide-scale spell called Frost Spike. A heavy barrage of frozen spikes rains down, causing massive explosions that force the Phantom Lionesses to scatter and retreat. Observing the chaos from above, Chen notes that while mages are weak up close, their long-range attacks completely dominate the battlefield. He targets the Roaring Lion King with a concentrated shower of falling ice spikes. Just as the attack is about to strike, the beast uses its spatial ability to vanish, stepping out of a portal far away to easily dodge the hit. While the Lion King quickly regroups with the other lionesses, a massive vortex of freezing energy suddenly traps the entire pack. Chen notes that dragging the beasts into his kill zone completely stops their hit-and-run tactics. Sensing danger from above, the panicked Lion King looks up to see Chen building a giant, swirling sphere of ice called a Frost Blast Bomb. Chen coldly declares there is nowhere left for them to hide, leaving the shocked Lion King to let out a desperate roar. Chen hurls the massive ice bomb downward, detonating it on impact to swallow the entire area in a blinding flash of freezing energy. Once the light clears, the devastating power of his spell is revealed, leaving the Lion King and its pack frozen solid inside jagged pillars of thick ice. With his targets completely trapped, Chen does a swift class switch, summoning a glowing pink sword directly into his hand. His eyes flash blue as he confidently makes a bold claim the battle on this floor is finally over. Leaping high with his active Stellar Warrior class, he unleashes a brutal downward strike called Triple Cataclysm. His powerful energy blade easily slices through the trapped lionesses, completely shattering their frozen prisons to brutally cut them down in one single sweep. The defeated beasts dissolve into dark mist. Chen stands victorious beside the fallen Lion King. The system confirms his victory. His alias, Ash C, levels up to 24, rewarding him with several phantom bones and a rare heart. A new system prompt appears. The boss monster is now ready to be devoured. Chen stands directly over the dead beast, gathering a warm, glowing light in his hand as he starts the absorption process. His eyes glow red as he focuses his energy on the body, wanting to discover what evasive class the monster used against him. Activating his absorber ability, Chen pulls a swirling vortex of dark red energy from the fallen beast into his fist. The raw energy forms a new system card in his palm, revealing the Lion King's legendary Stellar Tamer class. The card explains its highly annoying skills, forcing contracts on other beasts and instantly teleporting them across the busy battlefield. Checking out this new Stellar Tamer card, we can finally understand exactly why the boss kept running from direct combat this whole time. He figures out that the Lion King's base stats were just too weak, forcing it to hide behind its teleporting minions. Reading the card's skills, Chen admits that this Stellar Warp teleportation ability is honestly incredibly powerful. He also finds the Stellar Pack-acted ability pretty interesting, even though it relies heavily on intimidating targets into submitting. He realizes that to secure a contracted beast of his own, he will need to use a highly aggressive, terrifying approach. Suddenly, the starry void around him completely shatters into blinding light, catching him completely off guard as the entire environment changes drastically. The illusion breaks completely, revealing the true first floor of the Dread Spire, a vast, scorching desert of endless sand dunes. Looking at this barren wasteland and the giant skeletons scattered across the sand, Chen wonders what disaster caused such destruction, until a sharp crackling sound draws his attention. A vertical rift expands into a fiery portal, signaling that the gateway to the second floor is officially open. Just as he prepares to move, a hostile glare and a low growl from the shadows behind him make him quickly turn around. He easily traces those glowing pink eyes to a massive rib cage buried deep in the sand. Would you look at that, a fluffy lion cub is hiding inside, fiercely growling at him despite being bound in glowing magical chains. Chen is genuinely surprised that it survived. Assuming it is the absolute final remaining enemy, he forms a crackling lightning dagger in his hand, preparing to finish the job, but as he approaches the hiding cub, he realizes a crucial detail. Since the cub did not disappear when the Lion King died, it must not be one of the boss's contracted minions. Looking closer at the chains wrapped tightly around the small creature, Chen wonders if the Lion King kept this cub imprisoned against its will. Staring down at the bound cub, Chen flashes a highly intimidating glare, leaving the tiny creature completely terrified. But instead of attacking, Chen quickly swings his dagger to shatter the magical chains holding it captive. Freed from its tight bindings, the cute little lion falls safely onto the soft sand. Chen turns away, calmly telling the cub that he is giving it its freedom back. Before leaving, he softly asks if this ruined place used to be its home. This little cub shakes the dust off, staring right back at him. Looking at the cub with deep sympathy, Chen remembers how agonizing it is to watch everyone you love get brutally ripped away. As the little beast stares, Chen softly admits he knows that crushing despair all too well. Walking toward the glowing portal, Chen tells the cub to survive and keep fighting, before announcing he is heading to the next floor. Wait, look at this. A holographic system screen suddenly pops up with a beast contract request. Since the beast initiated it, success rate is 100%. This legendary pact even unlocks 2 passive skills, sharing experience to boost stats and sharing vision during an emergency. Caught completely off guard, Chen freezes and looks back, absolutely stunned by the sudden offer. The pure white cub sits silently on the sand, staring up at him as the system identifies the cub as Lion King Leo, asking Chen if he will accept the beast contract. Chen looks at the tiny Lion King Leo, asking if he is really ready to tag along. The cub answers with a fiercely proud roar. Standing before the burning portal, Chen explains his plan to climb the massive dread spire, warning that the upcoming monsters will only get deadlier. He tells the cub it could easily die, demanding a final confirmation. Leo lets out another defiant roar in response. Witnessing that fierce resolve, Chen accepts, and their eyes suddenly glow with matching pink pentagrams. A loud chime sounds as the system confirms the contract is officially complete. The system displays his new Stellar Tamer class and Stellar Pact ability. This lets him force contracts through sheer intimidation, though the beast dies if he does. Instantly, 2 passive skills activate. One boosts the cub's stats while sharing experience, while the other lets the master hijack the beast's vision in an absolute emergency. Lastly, Stellar Warp unlocks, letting him teleport straight to his companion. With their contract sealed, Chen smiles and says it is time to move. The hyper cub bounds right beside him. Approaching the fiery vortex, Chen gives Leo one single rule. In a battle, its only job is to survive. With that, Chen steps through the fiery threshold. They step out onto a jagged rocky cliff, overlooking a massive underground world overflowing with boiling lava and pillars of pure fire. Sweating bullets, Chen mutters about the brutal heat, feeling like his entire body is literally going to melt. While they look around, Leo peeks over a boiling lava cliff. Chen admits he has no clue what's coming, but a sudden splash in the magma startles the cub. A blinding flash of light suddenly explodes. Chen's battle instincts scream, his eyes flashing crimson as he senses a monstrous presence nearby. Before he can even raise a guard, a blindingly fast, devastating strike blasts straight through his chest. Talk about a shock, Chen suddenly bolts upright in bed, gasping and clutching his chest. He was completely insta-killed before he could even register the enemy, utterly baffled by that nightmare-level strength. Still shaking from the phantom pain of dying, he wonders what kind of absolute monster is waiting on that second floor. But his dark thoughts get cut short when his sweet sister, Si-yun, yells from outside that breakfast is finally ready. Sitting down, Chen stares at a crazy lavish spread of hot ramen and fresh fruit, telling Si-yun that she cooked way too much. Chewing on some toast, Si-yun orders him to wash the dishes and reminds him to hang the wet laundry afterward. As he watches her tie up her sneakers, Chen asks where on earth she's rushing to during her summer break. She says she's heading out to a part-time job. Concerned, Chen reminds her he's got their finances covered and she doesn't need to work. Si-yun smiles, telling him that with his sudden success, she absolutely refuses to be left behind. She adds that rotting at home all break sounds awful before giving him one last warning about his chores and heading out. Following his sister's orders, Chen washes up the dishes and hangs the wet laundry in the living room. Wrapping up, he realizes his sister has always been this incredibly stubborn. Staring at their framed photo, he admires how tough and unshakable she is. Honestly, even though she's still a kid, it always feels like she's the one taking care of him, but his mind quickly drifts back to his heavy reality. Once school is sorted out, he has to face the Demon King Wrath. This dangerous fight will keep him away from Si-yun for a long time. Remembering her bright smile, he realizes she is the one person he can't stop worrying about. Then, a wild idea hits him. Pressing his hand to his temple, he wonders if a crazy experiment might actually work, his eyes glowing pink as he channels his power. A portal opens up, and Lion King Leo tumbles out, landing safely in the apartment. Chen stares in complete shock. He is completely stunned that he can actually summon his contracted beast out of the dread spire and into the real world. The Hyper Cub immediately makes himself at home, zooming across the living room and happily shredding tissues. Looking at his system screen, Chen smiles as a brilliant plan forms. He can order Leo to protect Si-yun while he is gone. With passive skills, any danger to Si-un lets him share the beast's vision and teleport to her rescue. Since she loves animals, he knows they will get along great. Staring at his beast, Si-chan smiles, confident that gifting Si-un a little lion cub is a perfect choice. Suddenly, a loud crash from the kitchen breaks the silence. Startled, he rushes to check, hoping Si-un will love her pet. But his excitement instantly vanishes the moment he sees the mess. That little cub had caused total chaos, smashing plates and chewing on the water faucet. Meanwhile, in the city at sunset, a dark blast shatters a security camera, wiping out the area's feed. Right beneath it, a bleeding man holding an ice blade backs away in absolute terror. He begs his invisible attacker for mercy as a massive, horrifying demonic claw appears right before him. The massive claw lunges forward, brutally skewering the man straight through his chest. His eyes widen in horror as glowing red tendrils slowly lift him into the air. A brutal system screen pops up with a cold loading bar showing the man is being devoured. Meanwhile, an exhausted Si-un trudges home from her grueling summer shift. She sighs heavily, her feet aching from the endless summer rush at the bubble tea shop. Her path leads right into a dark underpass. But get this, she's walking directly beneath that freshly broken security camera. As her steps echo, a sudden presence makes her freeze. She spins around as a cold voice calls out from the dark, saying she is finally here. Looming in the shadowy underpass, Jin Dushin stands with a massive bouquet of red roses, clearly waiting forever. He steps right into Si-un's path, forcing the flowers onto her. He complains she ran off too fast to hear him out, bragging that he reserved the entire top floor of Purple Peak Tower just for tonight. Staring at the roses, Si-un asks how he even knows her address. Jin Dushin proudly brags about his father being the hospital director, making stalker details a breeze. Entirely unbothered, Si-un tells him they live in different worlds. She warns him never to contact her again and turns away. Annoyed, Jin Dushin lunges forward and grabs her arm to force her to stay. He snaps about the insane effort to book that venue, asking if she really intends to humiliate him by ditching his private party. Si-un glares back, saying his pathetic reputation is none of her concern. Then she tells him exactly what he is, a creep who stalked her all the way to her own home. Labeled as a creep, Jin Dushin snaps. With a dark snarl, he warns her she has no idea who she is messing with or how easily he can ruin her. But wait, she does not hesitate. Si-un swiftly counters, delivering a brutal headbutt straight to his face. The impact sends him crashing down, wailing in pain as he clutches his bloody nose. Standing over him, Si-un furiously yells at him to go get his brain checked at his dad's hospital. Fuming, she stomps off, warning him to stay far away while complaining that his pathetic stunt ruined her evening. Later that night, a cozy light glows from her family's apartment window, standing out against the dark, lonely streets. Arriving home, Si-un is absolutely amazed when she's handed the fluffy white lion cub Leo. Her eyes sparkle with pure love. She eagerly snuggles the tiny magical beast, totally smitten. She excitedly asks her brother, Si-chan, where he got this cute creature. Si-chan smiles, introducing Leo as a special gift just for her. Overjoyed, she cannot believe she gets to keep a baby lion. But as Leo purrs in her arms, Si-un spots a strange detail. She wonders why a tiny baby already has such a huge mane, since usually only fully grown male lions have them. She quickly shrugs off the mystery, declaring she will register him first thing in the morning. Watching them play, Si-chan feels a wave of relief, knowing Si-un will be safe with this beast while he is away. Suddenly, a loud ping from Si-chan's phone breaks the mood. Looking down, a satisfied grin spreads across his face as he reads an email from the guild bureau. His official application is fully approved. Relieved, Si-chan realizes everything can now go exactly as he planned. With his home secure and the paperwork finished, Si-chan is ready. He is fully set for his next big challenge, the high-stakes graduation duel against Gong Ting in 6 days. 6 days later, the tiebreaker exam kicks off at the edge of the city in Greenlight Forest. Director Gong Xuanjuan tells both fighters to listen up. Standing directly before a glowing green portal under a giant tree, Gong Xuanjuan announces the school selected this wild dungeon for the duel, adding that recent scouts rated as D rank. Both Si-chan and Gong Ting will enter the gate at the exact same time, fighting in the same dangerous zone. He warns them that wild dungeons are completely unmapped and far deadlier than the standard training grounds at school. With the stakes so high, 3 top guild members from Easternia step in as examiners. They are entering the dungeon to protect the candidates, while grading their every move. The roster features Ivan from the Imperial Guild, Yasmin from Divine Eye, and Sato Woda representing the Silver Guild. According to Gong Shan, these 3 examiners hold all the scoring power. Meanwhile, over in a dark academy VIP room, the whole test is being streamed live. Gong Lin smirks as he watches. He silently hopes their secret deal goes smoothly, leaving no evidence or loose ends behind. Nearby, Principal Yuan Long asks Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish why he is still lingering around since his schedule wrapped up 2 days ago. Carl just laughs while keeping his eyes on Si Chen and Gong Ting. He says nothing beats this level of excitement, admitting he has not seen a real clash of prodigies in years and will not miss it. Pointing toward the glowing green portal, Director Gong Shan loudly kicks off the official graduation tiebreaker exam. The high-stakes duel between Si Chen and Gong Ting is officially on as both rivals walk straight into the shimmering portal. Si Chen steps through to the other side, glowing green particles still drifting off his clothes. Scanning his new surroundings, he finds himself in a shadowy, desolate forest covered with twisted, dead trees. Near the entrance, the examiners observe the creepy terrain, with Yasmin noting it looks like a flower-type dungeon. Right next to her, Ivan offers Sadawoda a smoke, but get this, Sadawoda snaps at him because the camera drone is filming. Suddenly, a sharp, buzzing alarm blares straight inside Si Chen's head. He watches in absolute shock as a flashing red hologram erupts from his chest, bathing his face in a crimson light. A system alert warns of a highly lethal creature nearby, and honestly, this is the very first time we see his demon heart trigger such a terrifying warning. But just like that, the alert vanishes. Si Chen is left wondering if a high-level beast is hiding in this simple D-rank dungeon, as he and Gong Ting follow a path of giant, gnarled roots. Gong Ting confidently takes the lead. He navigates the heavy fog while Si Chen trails right behind. Up on a high ridge, Yasmin observes them, noting how dangerously thick the mist is. Beside her, Sadawoda commands the team to stay sharp and keep their eyes locked onto the two students. Now watch this, a sudden crack shatters the silence as the rocky ground violently splits open right in front of them. A massive, grotesque insect-like monster bursts out from the dirt. The system identifies it as a poison cage ant, a D-rank flower archer. Moving instantly, Gong Ting draws his sword and charges the giant beast. Watching this, Ivan praises the kid for his lightning-fast reaction speed. But Sadawoda warns that wild monsters are faster, meaner, and far trickier than anything they faced in school training. The massive ant attacks, firing a deadly spray of glowing green acid projectiles. But Gong Ting easily parries every single shot with his swift blade. In one fluid, powerful motion, Gong Ting leaps high and slices the monster cleanly in half, sending its massive upper body crashing heavily to the ground. His blade flares with a bright golden aura as he drives it straight through the fallen beast. Channeling his nuclear warrior class, Gong Ting unleashes a deadly blaze blade barrage, blowing the monster to pieces in a fiery explosion. Up on the ridge, Yasmin projects a glowing green 10 from her wrist device. She gives Gong Ting a perfect score, praising his instant reflexes and how easily he shut down the creature's ranged attacks. Ivan also displays a perfect 10, highly praising Gong Ting's combat logic. He points out that cutting off the acid-spraying organ right away completely stripped the monster of its ability to fight. Sadawoda proudly holds up his own 10, giving top marks for that flawless, decisive, and highly clean finishing blow. As Gong Ting calmly holds his glowing sword, the examiners are stunned by his flawless positioning and battle control. They agree that keeping such icy composure against a wild beast is incredible for any student. Sadawoda then points their attention to Si Chen, who is just strolling away with his hands in his pockets. Sadawoda heavily criticizes his sluggish reaction to the beast, calling his lack of interest an absolute failure. Gong Ting stays silent, just staring at his rival's incredibly relaxed and careless attitude. Back in the VIP room, Carl Cavendish and Principal Yuan Long closely watch Si Chen. Carl casually asks the principal what he thinks the kid is actually trying to do out there in the thick fog. With a knowing smirk, Principal Yuan Long realizes that Si Chen is hunting for something very specific. Deep down in the dungeon, Si Chen pauses, lightly tapping his boot against a tangled mess of massive roots. He quickly figures out that this exact spot lets him wipe out every single monster in one go. Crackle! Bright golden lightning sparks inside his palm, shaping itself into a jagged electrical blade. Muttering that he finally found his target, Si Chen drives the crackling lightning blade straight down into the roots. That single strike sends an insane wave of golden lightning deep underground, tearing the very earth apart. A massive nest of poison cage ants gets launched into the air, instantly vaporized by the exploding currents. Drenched in sweat, the examiners realize Si Chen blasted that monster nest on purpose. They think he is completely insane, terrified that aggroing a swarm of D-rank monsters will get them killed. Staring at the massive blast, Gong Ting's cool mask completely breaks as he wonders what Si Chen is up to. Powering up, Si Chen channels thick lightning into his boots and launches himself straight into the sky. Using his legendary lightning assassin class, he triggers his flash god skill, shooting upward like a golden beam. Look at that insane speed. Si Chen effortlessly intercepts the flying ant swarm blown up by his trap. He unleashes a lightning-fast, endless barrage of slashes against those airborne bugs. Dancing through the air, he leaves a glowing web of golden lightning behind, absolutely shredding every monster in seconds before floating gracefully back to the ground. The moment Si-Chan lands, shattered pieces of D-rank monsters rain from above while the golden sparks fade from his hands. High up on the ridge, the three examiners stand completely frozen in shock. Sweating in pure disbelief, Sato struggles to process the insane sight. As Si-Chan casually wipes green monster blood off his sleeve, the examiners realize with a shock that his profile lists him as a weak E-rank awakener. They find it totally ridiculous that a trash-tier E-rank kid can easily butcher a whole horde of D-rank monsters. They know there is absolutely no logical way to give this flawless run a bad grade. So, these corrupt examiners frantically whisper in the dark, desperate to sabotage Si-Chan and keep their shady deal. They try to cook up cheap excuses, like calling his style reckless or docking points for his technique. Meanwhile, inside the cozy VIP viewing room, Carl bursts into loud, proud laughter. He praises Principal Yuan Long for predicting that Si-Chan was holding back, calling it an absolute treat to watch such madness when the exam has only just started. He eagerly waits to see how Gong Ting will handle this crushing power. Standing right behind him, Gong Lin stays dead silent, his face turning incredibly dark as he glares at the screens. Suddenly, the live footage on the main screen gets ripped apart by heavy digital static. The display glitches out before going completely pitch black, flashing a bright red warning that the signal is dead. Principal Yuan Long frowns at the black screen, and honestly, we have to ask why this signal keeps cutting out. Just outside the dungeon entrance, sharp warning alarms start blaring from the monitoring consoles. A panicked technician frantically types away as the system flashes a massive red alert about some crazy signal anomaly. The diagnostic screen shows the dungeon's official D-rank rating wildly glitching into a creepy, glowing question mark. Right then, the internal communication signal crashes down to absolute zero. The technician stares at the corrupted data in absolute horror while director Gong Xuan breaks into a cold sweat, screaming to know what the hell is happening inside. Their panic peaks when the portal's glowing green energy suddenly starts to fade. The glowing gateway completely disappears, leaving just a plain rock cave that effectively locks all the students inside. Deep inside the now locked-off dungeon, a dark, creepy melody echoes through the dark, manifesting as floating, glowing notes of pink and green light. Si-Chan instantly freezes, listening closely as he immediately recognizes the terrifying presence hidden behind that eerie tune. It is the voice of the Demon King, Wrath. Outside, at 4 p.m., the cave entrance suddenly seals shut, turning into solid stone. Director Gong Xuan panics, demanding to know how the gateway just vanished. A technician reports a total loss of connection, explaining that their gear threw massive signal errors just a moment ago. Drenched in anxious sweat, Director Gong Xuan orders his staff to get headquarters on the line immediately. He desperately fears that a massive catastrophe has just unfolded inside the trapped dungeon. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, an eerie melody literally materializes into floating musical notes. Chen and Gong Ting halt in their tracks, immediately noticing the bizarre phenomenon swirling around them. Even the examiners are left completely baffled by this sudden shift in the atmosphere. Yasmin Kai nervously asks the others if they hear that noise, and Sato Wo confirms it sounds like bizarre music. Feeling the heavy, rhythmic thuds of the melody, Chen grows deeply alarmed, immediately recognizing the sound as the terrifying voice of the Demon King, Wrath. He desperately wonders why Wrath is even here, deep inside a low-level dungeon. The Demon King is not supposed to show up for another 3 years, but suddenly, the Demon Heart System bombards Chen with severe, high-danger alerts. His entire body tenses up as his system interface screams at him about an imminent, lethal threat. As heavy, massive thuds shake the damp cave floor, Chen realizes something colossal is standing right behind him in the thick fog. A dark, chilling laugh echoes through the cavern as a towering, shadowy figure slowly emerges from the thick mist. You can actually feel the dread building up here as those two glowing eyes pierce right through the thick fog. The creature steps forward, revealing a grotesque, humanoid mantis monster that radiates a suffocating, pitch-black aura. Glaring down at the terrified group, it mockingly welcomes the humans, declaring that they have walked straight into its trap. Stunned to hear the beast actually speak, Sadawo realizes a monster that can speak must be at least a high-tier C-rank beast. He frantically questions how such a devastatingly powerful entity could possibly exist inside a mere D-rank dungeon. Terrified this high-level monster will slaughter all the students, Sadawo summons a massive, glowing battle axe and leaps forward to intercept it, screaming at everyone to get behind him right now. Before Sadawo can even land his heavy strike, the Mantis Demon counters with blinding, terrifying speed. In one seamless, brutal motion, it swings its razor-sharp scythe and cleanly severs Sadawo's entire arm. As the other examiners freeze in absolute horror, the Mantis Demon instantly vanishes, reappearing directly behind Gong Ting with its dripping, bloodied blade raised high. It mocks the helpless group, telling them to just curl up and accept their miserable fate. With a sickening thud, the monster ruthlessly drives its massive blade straight through Gong Ting's shoulder and out of his chest, commanding him to die. Despite being brutally impaled, Gong Ting grits his teeth through the agonizing pain. He refuses to fall, and a fierce, crazed grin spreads across his bloody face. Taking advantage of the monster's close distance, Gong Ting swings his blazing golden sword downward, brutally chopping off the creature's trapped scythe arm. The mantis demon's eyes go wide in absolute shock, and without missing a beat, Gong Ting unleashes a powerful midair kick that sends the crippled beast crashing backward across the jagged, rocky terrain. Bleeding heavily from the massive hole ripped in his shoulder, Gong Ting completely ignores his critical injuries, glaring with blazing, intense eyes. He fiercely declares that since this overlord drew first blood, the kill officially belongs to him under the strict rule of combat priority. He sharply warns Chen not to dare interfere in his fight. Chen watches the monster intently, his eyes glowing bright green as he uses his unique skills to assess the beast's true power. The glowing system interface updates the mantis demon's classification, confirming to everyone that this creature is indeed a highly dangerous, high-tier C-rank beast. Staring at the massive hole in Gong Ting's shoulder, Yasmin Kai frantically screams at him to get medical treatment immediately. She desperately begs him to suspend the exam and let them pull him out, screaming that this monster is completely out of his league. Gong Ting flatly refuses, gathering intense fire magic directly into his hand. He utterly rejects any thought of giving up. Chen watches in absolute shock as Gong Ting presses his burning, flaming hand directly onto his bleeding chest, using the raw heat of his own magic to painfully cauterize the deep wound. Imagine the sheer willpower it takes to declare that this fight does not end until one of them is dead. Without any hesitation, Gong Ting leaps high into the air, driving his flaming golden sword down toward the crippled mantis demon to keep up his relentless assault. Meanwhile, outside the sealed dungeon, Silas Lin, the formidable leader of the Imperial Guild's elite king squad, silently assesses the vanished entrance. He calmly explains that this bizarre phenomenon means a highly intelligent monster is operating inside, a beast that purposely lured the humans in before snapping its trap shut. Director Gong Zhen panics, desperately asking if there is any way to force the entrance back open while the students are still trapped. Silas coldly states there is only one way to make that exit reappear. Someone on the inside has to track down and slaughter the dungeon's overlord. Desperate for a silver lining, Director Gong Zhen tries to rationalize their dark situation. He suggests that since a standard D-rank dungeon caps out at a C-rank overlord, the trapped examiners and students should still have a decent fighting chance to kill it and escape, but Silas quickly shatters his optimism. He explains that the initial D-rank rating is actually a fake mask made by the overlord to hide the dungeon's true, deadly nature. Piece by piece, Silas realizes this very dungeon is behind the recent wave of Awaker disappearances his team has been tracking. With absolute gravity, he warns a horrified Gongguan that the trap they are standing in is actually a highly dangerous B-rank dungeon. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, the massive insect attacks without mercy, but Gong Ting holds his ground, blocking the heavy strikes with his blazing blade. He leaps backward to escape a massive sweeping strike. When the beast raises its claw for a lethal strike, Gong Ting leaps high into the air. The monster completely misses, slamming its blade deep into the dirt where it gets stuck. Taking his chance, Gong Ting shouts that the monster is trapped. With one swift, burning swing of his sword, he cuts the creature's head right off. The severed head rolls across the stone floor as the team runs over. Yasmin just stares in absolute shock. Seriously, who saw that coming? Gong Ting just soloed the boss, forcing even Yasmin to admit his strength is insane. Nearby, Ivan focuses a green healing light into Soto's wounded arm, asking if he feels any better. Covered in sweat, Soto thanks them for the quick save, but his relief disappears the moment he looks at his smartwatch. He panics and warns everyone that his device has lost its signal, leaving them entirely cut off from the outside. Yasmin and Ivan instantly check their own devices. Yasmin confirms her connection is totally gone, while Ivan points out that even their GPS tracking is completely dead. Sato begins to panic, asking when the drones went offline. Gong Ting looks back, totally confused, but suddenly the headless mantis rises again. Without any warning, the headless monster lunges right at a completely stunned Gong Ting. Chen jumps in immediately, unleashing a storm of golden lightning that chops the beast into tiny pieces. The system alerts him that the monster is dead, granting him experience. Still shaken, Gong Ting asks how a headless corpse could still fight. Chen calmly points out that the mantis was never the actual overlord. It was under total hypnosis the whole time, which kept its body moving even after death. He commands the examiners and Gong Ting to get out right now, warning that anyone could be targeted next. Gong Ting defensively asks how Chen could ever know that. Sato furiously snaps that Chen is losing his mind, arguing there can only be one C-rank boss here. He insists that high-tier beast has to be the leader. Before Chen can even reply, his system screen flashes with desperate warnings about a lethal presence, Suddenly, a massive wave of psychic energy blasts through the entire cavern. And just like that, the trap is sprung. Yasmin, Ivan, and Sato's eyes glow a creepy pink as the boss takes complete control of their minds. Realizing his warning was a second too late, Chen quickly turns on his earbud, instantly recognizing that weird pulsating frequency. During his past life, he saw the Demon King Wrath use this exact same sound wave to brainwash and massacre millions of people across the planet. He spins around to find Yasmin, Ivan, and Sato completely synchronized, marching forward like mindless, empty puppets. Sure that this dungeon boss is tied straight to Wrath, Chen determines to face it head-on, tailing the brainwashed crew deeper into the pitch-black tunnels. Warnings keep popping up on Chen's interface about the lethal monsters ahead. Soon, they reach a massive, terrifying nest covered in glowing green eggs, where giant black snakes circle around a mysterious draped figure. Luckily, Chen is safe from the frequency because of the countermeasure track running in his earbud, a special shield he made just for Wrath. But, realizing the defenseless examiners could literally die from the brain strain at any moment, he resolves to kill the boss right now. The dark entity feels their presence, its voice echoing deep inside the cave as it drools for their warm, fresh flesh. Chen glares back, ready to strike. Years ago, a bloody and tired young Gong Ting stood over his younger brother, Gong Chang, after brutally beating him with a shattered wooden stick. Watching the brutal beating, their father, Gong Lin, coldly praised 8-year-old Gong Ting for winning the fight. Sitting at a luxurious dinner table, Gong Lin laid out the harsh family law, explaining that only winners got to eat while losers like Gong Chang had to kneel outside until dawn. Tossed outside, a beaten and bruised Gong Chang knelt obediently as his stomach growled from hunger. Gong Ting secretly approached his defeated brother and offered him some bread. Surprised and terrified, Gong Chang whispered that their father would severely punish them if they got caught. Ignoring the danger, Gong Ting firmly told his brother to shut up and eat, but his act of kindness was quickly discovered. A brutal slap hit his face. Then, he was forced down onto the cold floor. Gong Ting trembled as his father loomed over him with a whip. Gong Lin asked his beaten son if he understood their family power. He proudly declared that it was simply because he had never lost a single battle. He drilled that ruthless mindset into his son: the winners make the rules, and the losers just follow them. Defiant despite the pain, young Gong Ting asked his father if beating his own son meant he got to make the rules. Gong Lin just laughed at the challenge. Years later, a badly beaten Gong Ting collapsed to his hands and knees. He coughed up blood as his broken blade clattered to the dirt, angrily asking his father why he refused a fair duel. He demanded answers. Why did his father order Silas Lin to step in and attack him instead? Completely unbothered, Gong Lin smirked and explained that his real strength did not just lie within his own hands. It lay in the absolute power he commanded over everyone. Glaring at his broken son, he said the world had no fair rules. Instead, it ran on one simple truth. You had to win at all costs, and the method never mattered, only the final result. In the ruthless Gong family, he was expected to always stay at the top, even if it meant sacrificing his family, his loyalty, and his own dreams. Gong Lin coldly finished his lecture. Winning was the only reason Gong Ting was allowed to live. Those harsh words echoed from his childhood, permanently scarring him with the belief that his survival depended entirely on always winning. Now we are back in the present, standing right in front of that massive, hidden overlord. The beast is surrounded by a terrifying nest of giant serpents and glowing green egg sacs. Chen remains completely unaffected by the monster mind control. He prepared a special audio track in his earbud, expecting the Demon King Wrath. Knowing the brainwashed examiners have zero protection and could die from the mental strain at any second, he decides to kill the beast immediately. Before he can even strike, Gong Ting grabs his wrist. He desperately whispers for him to stop. He has to break the trance. Now, Gong Ting roughly digs his fingers right into his own severe chest wound, spilling fresh blood onto the cold stone floor. Gasping in absolute agony, he admits he has no idea how Chen resisted the spell. Pain is his way of staying clear-headed. He warns Chen. A reckless charge right now will give away their position and get them all killed. Sweating heavily, he points out the endless wave of glowing eggs surrounding the monster throne. If they trigger the nest, they will be swarmed by dozens of C-rank beasts, making survival absolutely impossible. Looking at the trap, he realizes this clever overlord disguised its lair as a weak dungeon to bait and slaughter unsuspecting hunters. With a trick like this, you can bet the monster will eventually come straight to them. His plan is simple: play along and stay dead still. The second the overlord gets close, they will launch a joint surprise attack. Chen is actually pretty impressed, admitting he did not expect Gong Ting to think so clearly under this intense pressure. Compliment aside, Chen completely rejects the plan. He warns Gong Ting that waiting is a death sentence, since this specific monster does not even need to move to kill them. The overlord does not need to attack physically with just a single thought. It can force its victims to end their own lives. And right on cue, the brainwashed examiners prepare to end it all. Sato pulls out a saw, Yasmin points her gun at her head, and Ivan starts choking himself. But acting instantly, Si-chan uses his blinding speed to strike all three examiners, knocking them out cold before they can pull the trigger. That sudden dash? It catches the attention of the Overlord instantly. Realizing its prey is actually fighting back, the angry beast declares that its meal has been ruined. Reacting to the threat, the creature triggers those glowing green egg sacs, causing them to burst violently open. Dozens of deadly C-rank blade armor mantises crawl from the eggs as the Overlord commands the swarm to slaughter the intruders. With a deadly horde closing in, Gongting realizes their stealth approach is completely ruined. It is time for a backup plan. Drawing his weapon, he steps firmly in front of the unconscious examiners to protect them. He orders Si-Chen to grab the three adults and escape the dungeon, promising to hold off the monster swarm alone. Si-Chen is completely shocked by Gongting's selfless choice to sacrifice himself. Gongting admits he knows he cannot defeat this whole swarm of C-rank monsters on his own, but he's completely firm on this. He will buy Si-Chen enough time to escape. Gongting clashes his blazing sword against a charging monster, yelling that he is taking full responsibility. This deadly trap is his fault. The raw physical strength of the monster's strike completely overpowers Gongting, easily blasting him backward. He stabs his sword deep into the ground to stop his sliding. A panting Gongting stubbornly insists that since this mess is his fault, he has to fix it. Meanwhile, Si-Chen steps forward, admitting he completely misjudged his rival's character. Right then, his system triggers a class switch. He reminds Gongting that they both agree to this duel. Fully transforming into his level 24 Lightning Assassin class, Si-Chen summons a crackling blade of golden electricity. Just look at this insane matchup. Surrounded by a terrifying swarm, Si-Chen channels his golden lightning and announces he has a plan. Bleeding heavily, Gongting immediately rejects the crazy idea of fighting. He warns Si-Chen that the Overlord's power is on a whole different level, guessing the monster is at least a B rank or maybe even an A rank threat. Urgently, he tells Si-Chen to grab the unconscious examiners and escape, insisting that running away is their only real option. Si-Chen agrees that the monster is a total nightmare, but points out a massive flaw since the dungeon gates are locked down. He explains that if the exit were actually open, the Imperial Guild's rescue teams would have already rushed in to save them. Gongting is completely shocked to hear they are trapped inside. Si-Chen closely watches the silent Overlord, trying to figure out how to handle this deadly situation. He figures that if the creature is truly an A-rank monster, its combat power must be close to the Phantom Lion King he fought back in the Dread Spire. Then, the swarm attacks. A mantis demon leaps forward, but Si-Chen easily blocks its heavy scythe using his glowing lightning dagger. Another mantis dives in from above, making Gongting panic and yell out for Si-Chen to watch out. Before the monster can land a strike, Si-Chen and Gongting swing their glowing blades together, cutting down the attacking beasts in a flash. A moment later, a massive swarm of mantis demons screeches and charges right at them. Holding his bleeding chest, Gongting grits his teeth, realizing that with this many monsters coming at them, it is only a matter of time before they are overwhelmed. Ignoring the terrible odds, Si-Chen focuses his energy. Tapping into his Lightning Assassin class, he forms several crackling blades of pure electricity in his hand. With a swift motion, he shoots out a wave of golden lightning blades, piercing right through the charging beasts all at once. Not stopping there, he activates his Flash God skill. Moving at blinding speed as he rushes straight into the swarm, he easily cuts off the heads of multiple monsters in a single dash. Honestly, who can blame Gongting for watching this in absolute disbelief? Gongting knows the assassin class has incredibly weak base strength, making them almost entirely useless against large groups of enemies. Yet he watches as Si-Chen perfectly dodges a massive scythe swing. Gongting then notices that every single one of Si-Chen's strikes perfectly hits a weak point. He realizes that Si-Chen is completely making up for his class's lack of raw power with pure speed and perfect technique. Staring at the blurry after images, Gongting is absolutely amazed by just how fast Si-Chen is moving. As Si-Chen decimates the rest of the swarm in a storm of lightning slashes, Gongting realizes his rival's speed is easily at an A-rank level, if not even higher. Inspired by Si-Chen's amazing skills, Gongting grips his glowing sword with fresh energy, realizing they might actually survive this fight. Annoyed by their stubbornness, the Overlord finally steps in. It charges up a massive wave of dark pink energy, activating a powerful combat boost. The dark energy washes over the remaining mantis demons, massively boosting their strength and power. Angrily, the Overlord orders the buffed-up swarm to tear Si-Chen to pieces. Standing ready, Si-Chen keeps his electric blades glowing bright. One of the buff mantises tries to crush him, but Si-Chen easily leaps over the strike and slices the monster to pieces in midair. Seeing the battle get even wilder, a fierce Gongting yells out for him to hold on as he readies his own blade. Chen pushes himself to the limit, unleashing an endless storm of golden slashes against the supercharged swarm. Suddenly, a rogue mantis demon appears right behind him. Using his insane speed, Chen vanishes into thin air, narrowly dodging the lethal blow. He reappears, immediately counterattacking with a flurry of rapid, close-range slashes, but they cannot penetrate the monster's ironclad armor. Furious, the mantis counters with a devastating heavy strike. Chen blocks the blow, but the terrifying impact sends him flying back. Gasping for breath, he realizes the Overlord's buff has jacked up all their stats directly into the B- tier. Their outer shells are now as hard as solid iron, which means they cannot easily pierce any of their weak spots anymore. He figures they have to find a way to completely shatter that armor first. Behind him, Gong Ting yells out his thanks, knowing Chen has bought him some precious time. Sacrificing his speed, stamina, and magic, he channels every last bit of power directly into raw strength as massive pillars of fire erupt from his sword. Later that evening, back at the apartment, Jutong walks in with heavy grocery bags, apologizing for taking forever to get the drinks. With little Leo resting cozy on her shoulder, Tsiun tells her friend not to sweat it, since her brother isn't home yet. Jutong is actually pretty surprised to hear that he is still out. She asks if Tsiyun's brother knows she aced her art school exam, but Tsiyun admits she is keeping it a secret for now, though she did hint at having big news. Assuming he is just running late, she happily suggests they start eating without him. Right then, Tsiyun lifts up an empty jar, suddenly realizing they are completely out of garlic sauce. She tells Jutong to hang out there while she and Leo sprint to the convenience store, promising to grab extra snacks so they can throw a real celebration. A few minutes later, Tsiyun finishes her quick shopping run and steps back out onto the street. As they walk, little Leo happily munches on snacks inside her backpack, prompting Tsiyun to smile and call him her sweet little angel for being so quiet. She sweetly praises the little beast for being such a good boy, promising him fresh cookies next time. And here is where things take a dark turn. Deep in a shadowy alley, a cloaked figure holds her photo, calling in their target over the radio. He quickly asks his boss if they should strike. A voice crackles back, telling them to hold off and tail her until she is completely clear of the street cameras. He confirms the order and waits. As Chiyun walks home, heavy footsteps echo right behind her, matching her speed as the stalkers start aggressively closing the distance. She has known they were tailing her since she stepped out of the store, leaving her to wonder what they actually want. Feeling the tension, Leo lets out a low, warning growl from the bag as Chiyun softly holds him, asking if he senses the danger. She whispers for him to stay put, throwing a fearless glance backward as she quietly mutters that her night has officially gotten interesting. Deep within the dungeon, a gasping Chen realizes the boss's vile dark aura has surged the entire bug swarm to a far higher threat level. With their outer shells now as hard as solid iron, his blade can no longer slice through them so easily. He knows they must shatter that armor first, but right then, Gong Ting yells out his gratitude, telling Chen he has bought him the perfect opening. Sacrificing all his speed and elemental energy, Gong Ting forces his remaining power into raw strength, erupting into a towering column of fire. With his power pushed past its limits and his eyes blazing, a furious Gong Ting unleashes his ultimate technique. Swinging his blazing blade, he releases a massive wave of pure fire, vowing to incinerate these beasts no matter what. The intense wall of flame slams directly into the oncoming horde, instantly cooking the insect monsters alive. Cleaving straight through the swarm of enemies, the towering blade of fire strikes directly at the motionless, waiting boss. The strike detonates on contact, trapping the massive monster in a blinding, raging inferno. Struggling to stay on his feet, Gong Ting drops to his knees, leaning heavily on his sword as his physical and magic reserves hit absolute zero. Wiping the sweat from his brow, a completely exhausted Gong Ting exhales a heavy sigh. With the smoke clearing to reveal the charred remains of the horde, he whispers in relief that it is finally over. But wait, an evil laugh echoes right out of the fading fire, with the boss mocking them, asking if that was really their best shot. Gong Ting freezes in utter disbelief, while Chen calmly keeps his eyes locked onto the smoke. As the mist parts, the boss stands completely unharmed behind a massive glowing green barrier, glaring down at them while calling their effort absolute trash. Total terror completely paralyzes Gong Ting. He sinks into total despair, realizing he just blew his entire ultimate reserve and did not even leave a scratch on the beast. Remaining completely silent, Chen analyzes the enemy's barrier, realizing that right before the blast hit, the boss sucked dry the life force of its own monster eggs to manifest an impenetrable defense. Struggling to even remain standing, a totally defeated Gong Ting pants heavily. Hope is gone. He wonders if this is how they both meet their end. Walking past the broken Gong Ting, Chen offers him a deal. As he begins switching his combat class, he offers Gong Ting the exam's first-place spot. But there is a catch. Chen wants the entire cash prize, adding one strict rule. Gong Ting must never speak a single word about what he is about to witness. Summoning his glowing sword, Chen fully transforms into his secret demonic class. Gongting stares in pure disbelief. Who wouldn't be shocked finding out their rival has a dual combat class? Suddenly, bright streams of glowing pink energy begin violently tearing themselves out from the dead bodies of the bugs. He activates a special skill that drains the remaining energy and physical strength from nearby dead monsters, converting it straight into his own power. A massive pillar of pink energy erupts around Chen as his power level shoots to crazy new heights. Shielding his face from the violent winds, Gongting watches this terrifying display of raw power in absolute shock. Even the boss pauses, silently staring as it breathes a heavy cloud of energy through sharp teeth. Chen feels his strength and stamina surge way past their normal limits. Shrouded in dark demonic energy, he confidently repeats his earlier claim. He will kill it himself. The Overlord makes its next move, casting Soul Rest Enigma. A violent wave of energy erupts from the monster's glowing green shield, instantly flooding the cavern with heavy psychic pressure. The mental assault slams directly into Gongting. Bleeding and exhausted, he clutches his head in absolute agony, desperately fighting the intense hypnosis. Fully transformed, Chen does not even flinch. The Overlord freezes as Chen slowly marches forward, carrying his massive sword on his shoulder. Thoroughly confused, the monster demands to know why its hypnosis has absolutely zero effect on him. Desperate to stop him, the Overlord fires off Sonic Hell, unleashing a massive destructive shockwave outward. The sonic blast tears through the stone cavern, but Chen easily holds his ground while Gongting completely buckles, screaming out in pain. The Overlord locks its gaze on the kid. Staring right back with glowing eyes, Chen takes another calm step forward, heading directly toward the shielded beast. Panic grips the Overlord. It stammers, unable to comprehend how its ultimate attack did absolutely nothing. The Overlord commands its summons to rip Chen apart, and a massive shadowy serpent lunges straight at him. Chen tightly grips his glowing sword and, with one savage swing, splits the giant serpent's head right in half. As the beast crashes down, two more massive serpents dive at him from the ceiling. He braces himself, swings his heavy blade in a wide arc, and cuts both their heads off cleanly. With his path clear, Chen charges directly at the Overlord. The monster laughs, boasting that its barrier is unbreakable. Chen asks if that's really true, leaping high into the air right above the glowing shield. System alert. His Stellar Warrior skill is now active. Ossuary Collapse activates, draining the remaining strength from nearby monster corpses to feed his power as Chen lets out a fierce roar. Just like that, with one savage strike, the unbreakable barrier shatters, leaving the Overlord in utter shock. Gongting cannot believe his eyes. His rival just destroyed that massive shield in a single blow. Chen drops his weapon, charging his fist with blinding light. System alert. Triple Cataclysm is activated in crushing mode. He drives his fist straight through the Overlord's body, blowing it completely apart with a surge of raw energy that slams the beast deep into the ground. Smoke clears. Reduced to a shadowy remnant, the Overlord mutters that it is already half dead. Standing over the broken creature, Chen demands answers, ordering it to explain its connection to the Demon King Wrath. The Overlord is stunned. How could a mere human possibly know Lord Wrath's secret name? The Overlord spits back that if it actually knew where the Demon King was, it wouldn't be rotting inside this dungeon instead of breaking his seal. Chen freezes as the implication hits him. Someone in this world actually managed to seal Wrath away. The Overlord cackles, warning him that Lord Wrath will inevitably rise again to reclaim his armies and slaughter every single human down to the bone. Core rupture. The Overlord slowly dissolves into the cold air. Chen reaches out as his system activates, instantly devouring the monster's glowing green essence. The system confirms the absorption, granting Chen a new Flower Mage subclass called Phantom Sorcerer, complete with the Overlord's psychic and barrier skills. Leveling up to 25 and earning those 3 rare scale snake galls, Chen quickly starts connecting the dots. Wrath did not just randomly appear out of nowhere in the future. The Demon King had been trapped in this world long before the actual invasion started. A massive, hidden conflict happened in the past just to seal him away. Chen knows absolutely nothing about it. His thoughts break when he notices Gongting limping over. Injured and coughing up blood, Gongting admits he never expected to face a dual-class user. He concedes that Chen is on an entirely different level, naming him the true winner. Gongting gives his word that Chen's secret is safe. He promises to take everything he saw today to his grave. Then his strength completely gives out. He coughs up blood, collapsing against the cavern wall. Chen tells him to hang on. Since the Overlord is dead, the dungeon exit should reopen and rescue teams will pour in any second. Suddenly, Chen freezes. His passive pack skill triggers, flooding his mind with a dark warning. The system forces a shared vision on him, showing exactly what his contracted beast, Leo, is looking at. It is a hostile man radiating dark, swirling energy. Chen realizes where Leo is and screams his sister's name. The psychic link reveals a creepy awakener with glowing green eyes commanding massive, shadowy tentacles. This monster is cornering a terrified Seun, who clutches Leo to her chest, shielding the small cub from the creeping appendages. In the late afternoon on June 24th, Seun is making her way back home through the narrow city streets. Ever since she stepped out of the convenience store, some seriously creepy guys have been matching her every step. Two smirking thugs are trailing right behind her. Safely hidden inside her backpack, little Leo can sense the hostility, too, letting out a tiny, protective growl. Feeling her backpack shift, Seun asks her cub if he is sensing the creepy danger as well. But instead of panicking, she gently holds the bag, telling her little partner to stay completely hidden inside. Honestly, you have to love her confidence here. Instead of getting scared, Seun turns back with a fierce look, glad her boring night is finally getting interesting. She immediately taps into her survival instincts. When you are being followed, rule number 1 is getting somewhere crowded. Charging down a flight of stairs, she heads straight for the bustling market district. At this time of evening, the local restaurant row is absolutely packed with people. Using the chaos of the dinner rush to her advantage, she quickly slips into the massive crowd. She effortlessly blends in with the shoppers and diners to break her stalker's line of sight. Behind her, the thugs are quickly losing ground. The guy wearing the beanie starts aggressively shoving people aside, frantically trying to force his way through the dense crowd. But Seon's evasion game is totally on point. The exact millisecond they get distracted by the busy crowd and look away, she completely vanishes. The two thugs are left standing right in the middle of the street in absolute shock. They panic, looking around for any sign of her. Meanwhile, Seun makes a quick run into a quiet, secluded alleyway to hide. She catches her breath and looks back, relieved to confirm that those creepy stalkers are finally gone. Just as Seun thinks she has managed to escape, a heavy footstep echoes right in front of her. She stops dead in her tracks, startled to find a shady older man with slick-back white hair standing right on the steps of her own apartment building. Casually puffing on a cigarette, he mockingly complains that he has been waiting forever because the front door is locked. Her heart drops as she realizes this is a coordinated setup. Horrified, Seun backs away, demanding to know who they are and how they figured out exactly where she lives. Before she can get any answers, the two thugs catch up and block her exit, laughing about how fast the little chick can run. Realizing she is completely cornered, Seun tries to make a desperate break for it. She dashes down the corridor while the hunters laugh maniacally at her futile attempt. But these guys are not ordinary thugs, they are awakeners. Suddenly, a blast of sharp ice magic shoots out, instantly freezing her foot solid to the ground. The sudden momentum sends her crashing face first onto the hard pavement, knocking her backpack away. Her foot is completely trapped in ice as a glowing blue, frost-coated hand looms over her. The disgusting beanie thug stands above her, drooling like a total psycho. He mockingly asks if she is all tuckered out, telling her to take a breather and keep him entertained for a bit. Just as the creepy stalker is about to lay his hands on her, Seun screams out in pure panic. But before the creep can even touch her, a giant spectral paw slams directly into his face with absolutely insane force. The impact sends him flying backward through the air, crashing brutally onto the pavement, which actually surprises their white-haired leader. A heavy thud rattles the pavement. Stepping directly in front of a trembling Seun is a colossal, majestic white lion. Seun is completely shocked, staring at the majestic, glowing beast. Imagine her shock when she realizes this legendary predator is her tiny cub, Leo. Meanwhile, the beanie thug clutches his bleeding face, screaming in absolute horror. He frantically yells to his partner, crying that the client who hired them never mentioned they would have to fight a giant, overpowered monster lion. Leo lets out a deafening, earth-shaking roar that echoes wildly throughout the entire alley. Completely terrified, the hooded stalker totally panics. Desperately trying to protect himself, he frantically charges crackling yellow lightning into his fists. But keeping up that massive legendary form is way too exhausting for a little baby cub. Right after making his grand entrance, Leo runs out of juice and immediately reverts, shrinking right back into his tiny, adorable self before tumbling onto his back, feeling completely dizzy. Watching her fluffy little protector pass out from sheer exhaustion, Seun panics, immediately scooping her little champion into her arms as she frantically checks to see if he is okay after burning through all his energy. Seeing the once legendary lion instantly turn back into a helpless, dizzy baby. The white-haired leader looks on with complete disappointment, scoffing and muttering that he actually thought the beast was going to be something special. With a cold snap of his fingers, he decides to end the game and unleashes his own terrifying power. Massive, thorny wooden roots violently rip right up through the hard concrete floor. They swarm the narrow alleyway as he sneers that the tiny cub couldn't even keep his form for 10 seconds. Giant, writhing vines swirl around Seun, trapping her in a thorny cage as she clutches a dazed Leo tightly to her chest. She desperately warns the man to back off, but her words mean absolutely nothing to a seasoned killer like him. Moving those sharp, thorny branches closer to her face, the leader coldly tells her to stop wasting his time, giving her a terrifying ultimatum. Either she hands the beast over herself, or he will gladly tear it from her cold corpse. But wait, just as the leader closes his trap, Leo's eyes flash and that legendary contract skill triggers. Stellar Warp. Burning through his mental focus, a giant warp portal opens up in a sudden flash of pink light. Chen teleports directly to Leo's side, delivering a devastating kick straight to the leader's face. The raw kinetic force of that teleport strike sends the thug flying backward like a ragdoll, crashing brutally into the metal trash bins. Chen calmly turns to Seun and apologizes for running late, explaining his dungeon run took a bit longer before asking if she and Leo are okay. The hooded thug is completely bewildered. I mean, where did this absolute monster of a guy even spawn from? Still trembling, his sister frantically explains the situation, warning him that she has no idea how they tracked her, and that they are all high-level awakeners. But Chen just looks back with a reassuring smile, telling her to take a deep breath because her big brother is finally here. Meanwhile, the leader slowly emerges from the rubble. Seeing his plan instantly fall apart, he snaps, completely furious for letting his guard down, even for a second, as thorny roots coil tightly around his body. He screams out that Chen has just made the biggest mistake of his life, promising to bring their heads back to his client and demand triple the pay. But Chen doesn't even flinch, clenching his fist as golden lightning begins to violently crackle around his knuckles. Chen calmly tells Seun to get behind him and stay put, promising her that this is not going to take very long. Chen recalled his childhood. One day, he was getting absolutely pulverized in a dusty alleyway. Leading the brutal beatdown was his orange-haired cousin, screaming at him to finally learn his place. The thugs pinned young Chen to the dirty floor, hoping to break his spirit, but those bullies did not count on his fierce sister. A young Seun suddenly charged into the alleyway, wielding a massive metal pipe and ordering the thugs to get their hands off her brother. The arrogant cousin was not intimidated at all, mockingly laughing at the thought of a tiny girl trying to play the heroic savior. Seeing the gang shift their focus to his sister, a panicked Chen desperately screamed at his cousin not to take a single step toward her. He desperately reminded the bully of his solemn promise never to lay a single hand on Seun. The smug cousin just laughed it off, openly admitting he lied as he boasted that today he would beat some humility into his insufferable family. But while the ringleader was busy talking, he made a pretty fatal mistake. Exploiting the distraction, young Chen spotted a heavy brick on the ground and grabbed it, violently smashing it directly into the face of the thug holding him down. Shocking everyone, a furious young Chen raised his bloodied brick, charging straight toward his arrogant cousin. His cousin's face instantly paled as he watched Chen sprint right at him with pure, murderous intent. Chen delivered a brutal blow directly to his cousin's face for breaking his word, sending him crashing onto the hard pavement, bleeding and crying on the floor. The defeated cousin shrieked in absolute terror, calling Chen a complete and total psychopath. Catching his breath, young Chen dropped his weapon and gently told a trembling Seun that everything was okay and she did not need to be afraid. Right now, Chen tells Seun to stay tucked safely out of harm's way, calmly promising his sister that he'll wrap this fight up in no time. Determined not to let them escape, the stalkers charge straight at him to cut him down. Clutching little Leo, Seun panics. She desperately warns him that these three awakeners are highly dangerous and completely unhinged. To her, there is simply no way he can fight them all at once. The hooded thug charges in, pulling back a massive, lightning-infused fist. He screams at Chen, mockingly asking why he is just standing there instead of trying to defend himself. But before the guy can even process what is happening, Chen counters with a heavy punch that sends him flying headfirst into the concrete wall. Honestly, can you blame Seun for being totally stunned watching her brother dominate like that? Right on cue, the bleeding beanie thug lunges with a glowing elemental dagger. Without even breaking a sweat, Chen cleanly catches the guy's wrist midair before driving a brutal knee strike straight into his face. The sheer kinetic force of that strike launches the beanie thug backward, leaving him crumpled inside the alleyway trash bins. Suddenly, a massive thorny root rips toward him, but with insane reaction speed, Chen casually tilts his head to evade the surprise attack. The heavy vine misses completely, snapping violently against the tiled brick wall behind him. Seeing his subordinates defeated so easily, the white-haired leader completely loses his mind, screaming in fury that a mere kid in a school uniform is making a mockery of them. Channeling plant magic, the angry boss summons wooden spikes, furiously vowing to turn Chen into a human pincushion. Chen remains perfectly calm. Tapping into his incredible agility, he seamlessly slips and weaves through the storm of razor-sharp vines without getting a single scratch. In one fluid motion, Chen launches himself straight through a gap in the defenses, closing the distance in an instant. Just look at the white-haired boss panicking over that insane speed, screaming that this shouldn't be possible, while Seun suddenly has a massive realization. She nearly forgot that her brother didn't just barely pass his graduation combat exam. No, he completely destroyed the competition. Chen winds up and delivers a punch straight to the leader's jaw, showing this gang that he operates on a completely different dimension of power. The massive impact launches the boss backward, crashing him brutally into the alleyway wall. Just like that, the boss is out cold and bleeding on the pavement, while the beanie thug in the trash remains completely unresponsive. Beside him, the hooded thug is slumped against the wall, completely knocked out. The entire threat has been dismantled in less than a minute. Casually dusting off his clothes, Chen turns to his sister and tells her to take little Leo and head straight back home where it is safe. He reassures her with a smile, promising he'll quickly dump these clowns off at the local guard station and meet her back at the apartment in no time. Still a little dazed by the wild spectacle, feeling completely safe, Seun clutches her fluffy cub and happily agrees to head home first. Several hours later, under the dim light of a crescent moon, the severely beaten white-haired leader slowly starts to wake up. Groaning in pain, the battered boss opens his bloodied eyes as confusion turns to dread. He realizes that he and his thugs have been stripped of their weapons and tied tightly back-to-back around a concrete pillar, with Chen staring right down at them. The leader panics, screaming hysterically to know where they are and why they've been dragged to this isolated spot. Meanwhile, the beanie thug whimpers that his shattered skull literally feels like it is cracking in half, but Chen remains completely unfazed. Chen coldly asks if they belong to the Black Mountain Society. Knowing they never lift a finger without getting paid first, he demands to know who is bankrolling the job to kidnap his sister, but the boss just chuckles bloodily. Refusing to talk, he arrogantly tells him that snitching is a death sentence in their line of work, so he has zero intention of talking. Chen does not even bat an eye. Recognizing that they want to play tough, he calmly sighs, deciding they can do this the hard way. Suddenly, dark swirling energy wraps around him as his system initiates a class switch. The system confirms the switch is complete, revealing Chen's terrifying level 25 Phantom Sorcerer class. Armed with dark psychic manipulation spells like Soul, Rest Enigma, and Ripple Hell, he is about to show these mercenaries a level of mental torture they will never forget. Demanding answers from his captives, Chen wastes no time activating his new Phantom Sorcerer magic to force his way into the white-haired leader's mind. Under the crushing weight of the hypnosis, the mercenaries' mental defenses quickly fracture. Wait for it before anyone can even react. A thorny root erupts from the concrete. Absolutely terrified, the beanie-wearing thug screams in panic, demanding to know what is happening. Unmoved, Chen unleashes his Soul Rest Enigma, targeting the legs first. In an instant, a razor-sharp vine stabs straight through the leader's thigh, splashing blood everywhere. Chen then coldly targets his hands next. Another thorny branch shoots up, impaling the mercenary's palm to guarantee he never fights back, proving this agonizing torment is exactly what these scumbags deserve, forever daring to touch his precious sister. Seeing his boss dismantled so effortlessly, the beanie-wearing thug loses all his courage, screaming in absolute horror at the overwhelming power before him. With a freezing gaze, Chen tells the survivor it is finally his turn, as the wooden roots coil closer to start the torture again. This threat breaks the thug instantly, making him beg for mercy, as he confesses everything, blabbing that the mastermind is the son of the first hospital's director. Desperate to save his own skin, he screams out the client's name, Jin Duan. At 5 o'clock that evening, at a lavish rooftop pool party atop Purple Peak Tower, Jin Duan lounges, completely unaware his hired goons sold him out. We hear his wealthy friends teasing him, laughing about how this popular campus heartthrob got rejected twice by some junior school girl. Jin Duan fumes in silent rage, swearing she made a total fool of him in front of everyone, and he silently vows she will regret every single second of it tonight. Fed up with the mocking, he snaps at a girl trying to follow him and storms off to the restroom. While he is at the urinal, the restroom lights start to flicker and buzz, catching his attention. Cursing his terrible luck, he mutters that even the building's electricity is plotting against him tonight. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms. Jin Duan spins around to find Chen behind him, calmly asking if he is indeed Jin Duan. Down in the surveillance room, the guards gossip about how these rich kids bought out the top floor and shut off the cameras to party in total privacy. One guard whispers a dark rumor. Many girls up there were actually lured into a trap and did not come willingly. Hearing this shocking news, the other guard can barely believe his ears. The informant confirms it, explaining that a student recently took her own life after being abused at a party, only for wealthy parents to bury the scandal with a mountain of cash. He warns his buddy never be fooled by their fancy clothes. Behind closed doors, these spoiled heirs are nothing but wild animals. Meanwhile, back in the restroom, Jin Duan panics and demands to know who this is, threatening to call the police and have him thrown out immediately. Instead of answering, Chen calmly dials a number on his phone. Jin Duan freezes in absolute terror when his own phone rings with a call from his mercenary contact, Blackie. Holding the mercenary's phone, Chen glares, It is confirmed Jin Duan definitely ordered the hit on his sister. Horrified, Jin Duan demands to know what happened to Blackie, but Sai Chen simply crushes the phone with crackling lightning. Gripped by sheer terror, the spoiled heir backs away, screaming for this monster to stay back and desperately begging to know who he is. Without hesitation, Sai Chen throws Jin Duan straight through the restroom's glass window. Shattered glass rains down as the spoiled heir plunges to the deck, bleeding, bruised, and screaming frantically for anyone to save him. He looks toward the pool only to find a chilling sight. Every single party guest is already floating face down or unconscious, as Sai Chen steps onto the deck covered in a dark, ominous aura. Desperate to escape, Jin Duan crawls backward on his hands and knees, cursing frantically. Glaring at his pursuer's glowing eyes, he screams, demanding to know who he is and why he is being hunted like this. He tries to play his final card, boasting about his father's high status as the first hospital's director. He screams that if Sai Chen lays a finger on him, his father will use all his influence to bury him. Tired of the threats, Sai Chen orders Jin Duan to shut up, instantly seizing control of the heir's mind with his hypnosis, forcing Jin Duan to collapse to his knees. Sai Chen looks down at his new puppet, coldly commanding him to grab a sharp shard of shattered glass. Jin Duxin's hand moves on its own, gripping the sharp glass. Turns out, pure evil doesn't just hide inside dark dungeons. Instead, it walks among ordinary people every single day. Jin Duxin and his friends committed unspeakable crimes against a helpless student, using their family fortunes to bury the truth and driving the poor girl to end her own life. When the tragedy happened, they simply used their family influence to ensure none of the blame ever stuck. Jin Duxin even forged the autopsy report to frame it as a tragic accident, boasting that the world belongs to the rich. This is the monster who paid mercenaries a fortune, ordering them to ruin Seun's life by any means necessary. But get this, Jin Duxin made a fatal mistake targeting this guy's sister. Gripping the razor-sharp shard under total hypnotic control, he slowly raises the glass to his own throat. Sai Chen vows to hunt down and destroy every single threat to his little sister, acting as their judge, jury, and executioner. Even if he has to walk through the world's darkest depths, he will never hesitate.